Chapter 3316. 3316 The Second Prince. 3316 The Second Prince. They were now outside the walls of Sun Castle. The castle wall was 3 kilometers away. They were on the only road leading to the castle. Feng Wu asked involuntarily, "What are you working on now?" The deputy told Feng Wu in all seriousness, "Burying inscription bombs." Feng Wu was speechless. Seeing the confused look on Feng Wu's face, the deputy said seriously, "We'll plant the inscription bombs here and along this road. When the Junhua Empire comes after us, we'll be able to detonate the bombs." Feng Wu asked, "Why will the Junhua Empire come here?" The deputy looked at Feng Wu as if she was dumb. "If they don't come after us, we'll create an opportunity for them to come after us. It won't be difficult." Feng Wu was speechless. Hence, Feng Wu saw baskets of inscription bombs. From afar, she could tell that there were at least tens of thousands of them, and there were more to come. They were burying all the inscription bombs here, to blow up the people of the Junhua Empire. Feng Wu nodded with a straight face. The deputy showed the blueprint to Feng Wu. "Do you think anything here needs to be edited?" In fact, the deputy knew Bu Jingyu's strength. He knew Bu Jingyu didn't even know level 5 inscriptions, so it was useless to ask him. He probably couldn't even understand the blueprint. However, Bu Jingyu was Mr. Sakiya's disciple. With him as the supervisor, they would have one more person to take responsibility. Seeing the look in the deputy's eyes, Feng Wu knew what he was thinking. It seemed second senior brother didn't treat Bu Jingyu as well as Zhui did. Poor kid. Crossing her arms, Feng Wu said calmly, "I'm just supervising on second senior brother's behalf. I'll do whatever the blueprint says. If anything happens, it has nothing to do with me." After that, Feng Wu found a tree branch and went to sleep on it. The deputy didn't get what he wanted, but Bu Jingyu was there, and that was enough. Seeing that Feng Wu was snoring, the deputy went to do his own thing. Of course, Feng Wu wasn't sleeping. When the deputy showed her the blueprint just now, she had already secretly made a copy of the area where they had buried the inscription bombs. The blueprint was very big. It extended from the outside of Sun Castle to the Dalus Woods and the border. The area was filled with bombs. If the troops of the Junhua Empire stepped on them, they would be blown to pieces. It was a good thing she had seen this blueprint. Otherwise, the cultivators of the Junhua Empire would be in big trouble. Feng Wu was still trying to figure out how to deal with the inscription bombs, while someone in one of the restaurants in Sun Castle was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. The entire fighter base was blown up. The second prince of the Dongseng Kingdom was a handsome man, although he wasn't as good-looking as Night Owl. He was so angry that he smashed the bowl in his hand. What did Jue and Meng do? Why did they blow up the base? Why did they make such a big fuss? The second prince was so angry that he threw a bowl at the leader of the assassination team, who was kneeling on the ground. The leader of the assassination team had a bitter expression on his face. How was he supposed to know those two were so capable? "I don't know what information they leaked. If the others find out who they were..." The second prince hesitated. "They would have done me a great service if they weren't exposed. But, we'll kill their entire families if they were exposed," the second prince said angrily. Just then, someone entered the room. "My lord, there's news from inside. They suspect you sent someone to blow up the fighter jet base." Chapter 3317. 3317 Self-Destruct Program. 3317 Self-Destruct Program. "My lord, there's news from inside. They suspect you sent someone to blow up the fighter jet base." The second prince almost exploded when he heard that. Who could make up such a thing? After he found the secret passage, he had someone sneak in. However, he wasn't stupid and knew the importance of these fighter jets. How could he tell them to blow up the base? What's the scale of the explosion? Which areas were blown up? The second prince took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. "Everything," the subordinate answered carefully. The second prince almost choked, but he still held on to some hope. "What do you mean by everything?" "Well, I mean everything. The inscription area, the assembly area, the aviation area, everything that was assembled and stored were all blown up." The second prince's legs gave way. The guard captain immediately steadied him. The second prince put a hand on a chair to support himself and sat down with difficulty. After a long time, he finally said, "Everything was blown up. That's incredible." Everyone looked silently at the second prince. It was indeed incredible. They had no idea the second prince had such capable subordinates. The second prince said, "Mr. Sakiya." The messenger carefully said, "Although Mr. Sakiya didn't say anything, it seems they found something from Zhui and Meng's corpses." The second prince found it hard to breathe. He headed for the door. The captain and the others asked, "My lord, you?" The second prince gritted his teeth. "What are you waiting for? Are you going to stay here and get caught? Run." Although it was embarrassing to use the word run, as the second prince, it was still better than being caught. Feng Wu had no idea how badly she had tricked the second prince. Right now, she was resting on a tree branch with her eyes closed. Something suddenly occurred to her. Her eyes snapped open. She remembered something very important. The fighter jets. She remembered the fighter jets had a self-destruct mechanism. She didn't know when the self-destruct would happen, but the mechanism existed. She actually forgot such an important setting. Damn it. Feng Wu headed for the door. Seeing Feng Wu, the deputy immediately greeted her. "Young Master Buyu," Feng Wu said, "I need to pee." The deputy had no choice but to let Feng Wu leave. Feng Wu ran back to Bu Jingyu's yard. That was the only place where she could dismantle the fighter jets without any risk. Bu Jingyu was still grumbling inwardly when Feng Wu returned, but when he saw the fighter jets on the ground, he couldn't believe his eyes. "B boss Feng Wu, why you? 1, 2, 3. There were actually 5 fighter jets in the huge courtyard. All the space was occupied. Bu Jingyu said anxiously. "Didn't you say you blew up all the fighter jets?" Feng Wu answered Bu Jingyu, as she worked on dismantling the fighter jets. "How can I blow up such a good thing?" But, Bu Jingyu almost burst into tears at Feng Wu's words. "But why did you put them out here? They can self-destruct. They'll blow up." Feng Wu said, "I know. The 100 inscription propellers had yet to be assembled. They weren't installed with the self-destruct program, so she could ignore them. However, there were 100 fighter jets in the bracelet that Meng had given to her. All of them had the self-destruct program." Chapter 3318, Mr. Sakiya is back. 3318 Mr. Sakiya is back. Bu Jingyu said, "Do you know what this place is? If someone comes in, we're done for." Feng Wu's hands were steady. As she quickly disassembled the fighter jets with the Phoenix pen, she answered Bu Jingyu, "I know." Bu Jingyu paced around Feng Wu anxiously. "You don't know the half of it. I'm going to die because of you. How long are you going to keep dismantling these 5? If they blew up, he would be dead." Feng Wu glanced at Bu Jingyu. 5. Sorry, but 95 more were waiting. Feng Wu was so fast that her fingers moved like dancing butterflies, leaving behind afterimages. Bu Jingyu complained at first, but soon, he crouched down next to Feng Wu and watched her intently. The longer he looked, the bigger his eyes got. OMG! Was she even faster than his master? What was that pen in her hand? Whoosh! The huge fighter jet was dismantled. The self-destruct program was quickly deactivated. Feng Wu was incredible. Bu Jingyu exclaimed as he watched. "Boss Feng Wu, you're amazing. You took care of a fighter jet in the blink of an eye." Feng Wu didn't have time to talk to him, and she only nodded. She needed to work as fast as she could. Feng Wu thought for a moment and asked Bu Jingyu, "Does the self-destruct program have a time limit? Or are the jets detonated manually?" Bu Jingyu told Feng Wu, "They're detonated manually." Feng Wu asked, "Then why haven't they destroyed the fighter jets yet?" Bu Jingyu looked at Feng Wu in amazement. Feng Wu asked, "Why? Did I say something wrong?" Bu Jingyu said, "They can destroy the fighter jets, but they have to have an operating table. Didn't you blow up the inscription area?" Feng Wu was delighted. "So, you're saying since they don't have an operating table they can't?" Bu Jingyu said, "No, they have a backup operating table. Anyway, I saw one in Master's courtyard. Wait, I hear footsteps. Bu Jingyu put his elbows on the wall and looked out. He saw a group of people heading to the left wing. Bu Jingyu's place was an extension of the left wing, so he could look over the wall and see what was going on next door. Oh my God, Bu Jingyu exclaimed. Mr. Sakiya immediately looked in his direction. Bu Jingyu was so frightened that his face turned pale. He went stiff and couldn't make a sound. His master was right there. The person his master was after was behind him. Those two people were less than 10 meters apart. Bu Jingyu was scared out of his wits. Mr. Sakiya didn't return alone. He had brought several people with him. There was Zhu Yi, Bu Jingyu's eldest senior brother, and other inscription masters whom Bu Jingyu had seen before. The inscription masters who hadn't been in the inscription area were naturally still alive. When Mr. Sakiya saw Bu Jingyu, he frowned. With so many things happening, he naturally had no time to teach his disciple. At that moment, he just wanted Bu Jingyu not to cause trouble. Therefore Mr. Sakiya's face darkened as he glared at Bu Jingyu. Go back and memorize inscriptions properly. You're not allowed to leave this room before memorizing level 6 inscriptions. Get lost. Bu Jingyu said. Yes, Mr. Sakiya didn't stay any longer, and he led his men into the left wing. Chapter 3319, 3319 right next door. 3319 right next door. When Bu Jingyu saw Mr. Sakiya, Fengwu heard the commotion too. At that moment, her blood turned cold, and her entire body froze. She didn't even dare to breathe. There was great terror between life and death. What Fengwu was experiencing right now was that terror. She knew being a spy was very dangerous, but she didn't expect it to be this dangerous. Things had always gone smoothly for her before, and she thought it would stay that way. Bu Jingyu, who had been driven back from the wall, looked at Fengwu in silence. Fengwu looked at him in silence as well. Bu Jingyu was so anxious that his facial muscles shook. What should we do? What should we do? What should we do? Fengwu rushed over and covered Bu Jingyu's mouth, warning him in a low voice. Shut up if you want to live. After hearing Fengwu's words, Bu Jingyu finally calmed down, but he still looked anxious. Master must have remembered the self-destruct program. There's an operating table in his courtyard. Although it's a simple version, it'll still work. These fighter jets. Taking a deep breath, Fengwu asked Bu Jingyu. How long will it take for the fighter jets to blow up after the self-destruction program is activated? 2 hours. I remember it'll take 2 hours. Fengwu asked. Will the fighter jets explode when the time is up? Bu Jingyu lowered his voice and nodded. They'll explode. When the countdown ends, they'll explode. Our courtyard. His master was right next door. Would he sense the explosion? Of course. Fengwu asked. Can your master locate these fighter jets? Locating the fighter jets? Bu Jingyu scratched his head. I don't think I've heard that's possible. Fengwu said. That's great. Bu Jingyu said. What's great about it? You're not going to dismantle them just like that, are you? Let me tell you. You won't be able to make it in time. These 5 fighter jets. While Bu Jingyu was talking, Fengwu had already dismantled the second fighter jet. Bu Jingyu said, You're fast. Alright, maybe you really can do it. It didn't take long for Fengwu to dismantle all 5 aircraft and stop all 5 inscription propellers. Bu Jingyu heaved a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, thank goodness. Finally. However, before Bu Jingyu could finish, Fengwu waved her hand and put away the 5 disassembled fighter jets. Then she waved her hand again and released 5 more. Bu Jingyu froze before he could say more. How many did you steal? Bu Jingyu was about to cry. Those 5 weren't the only ones. Fengwu was honest. There are 95 more. Thump. With a loud thump, Bu Jingyu knelt on the ground. He looked up and stared at Fengwu, almost in tears. Boss Fengwu, are you trying to scare me to death? Fengwu didn't have time to scare him. She was racing against the clock. According to Bu Jingyu, even in the bracelet, the fighter jets would still explode. When the time came, the fluctuations from the explosion would definitely attract the attention of the people next door. When that happened, Fengwu couldn't even imagine the consequences. Bu Jingyu's lips trembled. Boss Feng Wu, you're lying to me, aren't you? Tell me, are you really lying to me? Feng Wu didn't have time to talk to him. She dismantled another fighter jet. Bu Jingyu muttered, although you're fast, you're not fast enough. We're running out of time. Chapter 3320. 3320 Someone's coming. 3320 Someone's coming. Will I die? My life is so precious. Mother exchanged her life for it. I can't die. What if I confess to Master now? Why don't I confess? Bu Jingyu took 2 steps toward the door, before he heard Feng Wu's cold voice. Who do you think is more powerful, your master or your martial grandfather? Of course it's my martial grandfather, Bu Jingyu said without hesitation. Master listens to martial grandfather. In front of martial grandmaster, master is like a cat in front of a tiger. He's very respectful. Feng Wu threw something at Bu Jingyu. It was a hairpin from her childhood. It was exactly the same as the hairpin in Bu Jingyu's painting. The beautiful lady had made a lot of these, so Feng Wu had taken one as a souvenir. There was a wooden shelf in her storage space, and one of the compartments in it was used especially to store her old things. What's this? Bu Jingyu looked at the little girl's hairpin. He was puzzled but found it a little familiar. Feng Wu reminded him, think about your painting. Bu Jingyu's puzzled eyes lit up instantly. He stared at Feng Wu, then rushed into the room to look for the painting. On it was still the cute little girl with a round face. Bu Jingyu looked at the head accessory in it. It was exactly the same as the one in his hand. He walked up to Feng Wu with the hairpin. You made this on purpose, didn't you? Feng Wu asked. Do you think I can be bothered? Bu Jingyu didn't know what to say. As far as he knew, Feng Wu wouldn't do such a thing, but... Don't tell me. Are you the one my martial grandfather is looking for? Bu Jingyu crouched down in front of Feng Wu and studied her face. Although her face had matured a little, she hadn't changed that much, especially her eyes, nose, and mouth. The more Bu Jingyu looked at her, the more he felt she looked similar. He was much more convinced now. Feng Wu said, everything will be fine if your master doesn't find out what I did. If he does, we'll mention your martial grandfather, and we'll be safe. Despite what she said, Feng Wu knew very well she had caused too much trouble this time. Even her third senior brother's reputation might not work. However, these words were indeed enough to fool Bu Jingyu. Bu Jingyu felt much more at ease. He nodded solemnly. All right, I'll do that. As she spoke, Feng Wu finished 5 more fighter jets. In such a short period of time, she had already completed 10. Because she was moving so fast, Feng Wu felt her fingers go numb, and she couldn't concentrate. But she couldn't rest at all. Time was of the essence. Feng Wu poured a bottle of tonic into her mouth. The next moment, she began to dismantle and write inscriptions again. 10, 20, 30. Bu Jingyu paced around the courtyard anxiously. From time to time, he would lean against the wall and stare at the opposite side, fearing that someone would knock on the door. 40, 50, 60. Finally, they were halfway through. Sweat covered Feng Wu and Bu Jingyu's foreheads, but they looked at each other in relief. Soon, very soon. At that moment, Bu Jingyu saw a person coming out of the left courtyard and walking straight over to his side. It was Zhu Yi, his eldest senior brother. Bu Jingyu's face instantly turned pale. Chapter 3321. 3321 Crisis 1. 3321 Crisis 1. Bu Jingyu's face instantly turned pale. He scampered back, grabbed Feng Wu's sleeve and said anxiously, Senior brother Zhu is here. He's coming. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Her fears had just come true. Feng Wu thought about hiding in the room, but a fighter jet couldn't fit inside. Hence, as Feng Wu quickly dismantled the fighter jet, she said to Bu Jingyu, Go and hold him off for a while. After that, Feng Wu pushed Bu Jingyu toward the door. Before Bu Jingyu realized it, he was already in the doorway. Zhu Yi happened to arrive at that moment, and the 2 men looked at each other. The senior brother was perplexed when he saw Bu Jingyu come out. That wasn't the most important thing. Zhu Yi frowned. Why did you come out? Bu Jingyu scratched his head. Well, As Bu Jingyu and Zhu Yi chatted, Fengwu was quickly dismantling the fighter jet. If Zhu Yi didn't leave, she would have to hide inside to do her work. However, the room wasn't big enough to fit a fighter jet. Therefore, she had to remove the outer shell first. As long as the shell was removed, Fengwu could hide in the back room and write the inscription code to stop the self-destruct program. Fengwu's fingers were moving so fast that if Bu Jingyu were here, he would be shocked. 70. 80. Zhu Yi looked at Bu Jingyu in bewilderment. Why are you stuttering? Bu Jingyu said, I'm not. Senior brother Zhu, why are you here? Only then did Zhu Yi remember why he was here. He raised his hand and was about to push the door open. However, Bu Jingyu stopped him. Zhu Yi looked at him in surprise. Get out of my way. Bu Jingyu said. Why are you here? Zhu Yi said. I remember you still have some tuckaho leaves here, right? Bu Jingyu said. Well, yes. Zhu Yi nodded. Master and the others are all anxious. I came over to get some tuckaho leaves to make tea for them. It'll soothe their throats. Bu Jingyu still stood in the doorway. How could he let Ji Yi in? If Zhu Yi went in, Bu Jingyu's secret would be exposed. There were many fighter jets in his courtyard. There was also another Bu Jingyu. Zhu Yi would be furious if he found out the truth. Zhu Yi stared at Bu Jingyu. Bu Jingyu, everyone is in a bad mood today. Master can lose his patience at any moment. You'd better be obedient. Bu Jingyu said. I am. Zhu Yi ignored him and pushed him aside. He wanted to see what Bu Jingyu was up to. The courtyard was empty, and everything looked the same as before. Bu Jingyu's heart was in his mouth, and his entire body was stiff. His legs were so weak that he was about to kneel down. But when he saw the empty courtyard, he let out a long breath. Boss Fengwu was so fast. How amazing! Fengwu was awesome, but she wasn't fast enough to dismantle all 100 fighter jets. Fengwu had been working on the last one when Zhu Yi pushed the door. What other choice did Fengwu have? She couldn't stop Zhu Yi. In the end, she had no choice but to give up on the last fighter jet for the time being and hide in Bu Jingyu's room. Chapter 3322. 3322 Crisis 2. 3322 Crisis 2. Inside, Fengwu sat on the floor with the phoenix pen in her hand as she worked on modifying inscriptions. It was a major project. It involved layers of inscription codes and formations. If one wasn't careful, everything would all be destroyed. Hence, Fengwu was careful as she rewrote the words with the phoenix pen. Zhu Yi paced around the living room. Scratching the back of his head, Bu Jingyu glanced at the room from time to time. Would Zhu Yi discover Fengwu? He was panicking. Zhu Yi glanced at Bu Jingyu. Why do you look preoccupied? Bu Jingyu said, No, I'm fine. I'm really fine. Zhu Yi was going to leave after taking the tuckaho leaves. Bu Jingyu almost relaxed. Just then, Zhu Yi paused and looked at Bu Jingyu. I didn't want to say this, but you're too reckless. What? Bu Jingyu looked at his senior brother in confusion. What did he do? He had stayed in this courtyard the entire time. Before Bu Jingyu could say he was innocent, Zhu Yi glared at him. You shouldn't have gone to the scene in the early hours of the morning. Do you know how dangerous it was? To the scene? OMG. Bu Jingyu immediately realized what Zhu Yi was talking about. It wasn't him. It was Fengwu. Fortunately, he didn't say he had never left the courtyard. Otherwise, no matter how much trust Zhu Yi had in him before, he would be suspicious now. Yes, senior brother Zhu. You're right. Bu Jingyu nodded. Zhu Yi said, If you go to the scene, it's easy for you to get injured or be captured by the enemy as a hostage. You'll even upset Master. Do you understand why you shouldn't have gone there? Bu Jingyu wanted to cry because it hadn't been him. But he still had to answer respectfully. Yes, senior brother Zhu. You're right. He was ready to see Zhu Yi off. Why was his senior brother still here? Bu Jingyu was so nervous. Zhu Yi stared at Bu Jingyu. Why are you nervous? Bu Jingyu said, I'm not nervous. Zhu Yi glanced at him indifferently and didn't say anything. Holding the box of tuckaho leaves, he pushed open Bu Jingyu's door. Bu Jingyu turned pale. Oh God, Zhu Yi would see another Bu Jingyu inside. He wondered if it was too late to ask for forgiveness. However, Bu Jingyu took a deep breath, but he saw the room was empty. He was greatly relieved. Zhu Yi looked back at Bu Jingyu and found the latter rather strange. He walked up to the cupboard and opened it. Bu Jingyu almost screamed. Luckily, there was no one inside. Zhu Yi looked at Bu Jingyu, who asked in confusion, "Senior brother Zhu, what are you doing? Did you think I was hiding someone here?" Zhu Yi rolled his eyes at Bu Jingyu. "You wouldn't dare." Bu Jingyu said, "There are no pretty girls here in the manor. When we defeat the Zhenwu Empire, we can take their women. They have so many pretty girls." Zhu Yi knocked him on the head. "Why do you want to do that? They're someone's daughters too." He finally left with the Tukaho leaves. Bu Jingyu was relieved and started looking for Feng Wu. Chapter 3323. 3323 Crisis 3. 3323 Crisis 3. Where was Boss Feng Wu hiding? She had hidden so well that even senior brother Zhu couldn't find her. Bu Jingyu kept making low whistling sounds, but he didn't find any traces. With a thump, Zhu Yi returned and stood at the entrance of the courtyard. Bu Jingyu looked at him in shock. "Senior brother Zhu, why are you here again?" Zhu Yi stared at Bu Jingyu. After looking around the courtyard, he still didn't find anything. He turned around and left quickly. Where was Feng Wu now? She had run to the woodshed. Bu Jingyu was such a terrible actor that he would give himself away the moment he got nervous. So Feng Wu slipped out of the window while Zhu Yi was outside. In any case, she was already a level 9 inscription master. Even Mr. Sakiya's formation couldn't stop her. Feng Wu didn't waste any more time because every second was precious. She would never allow the self-destruct program to activate. After climbing over the wall of Bu Jingyu's yard, Feng Wu was very careful because she was next to the left courtyard, which was filled with inscription masters and formation masters. Just the slightest movement from her would alert them. Thankfully, Mr. Sakiya wasn't paying attention to her side. Otherwise, he would have noticed if Feng Wu touched his formation. Carefully, Feng Wu walked out of the yard, found a woodshed nearby, and jumped into it. She first dismantled the last fighter jet. That way, all that was left were the inscription propellers. Feng Wu still had 20 inscription propellers. The Phoenix pen was powerful and moved as fast as lightning. What Feng Wu didn't know was that all the inscription masters in the left courtyard were staring at a screen nervously. Mr. Sakiya sat in the middle with an inscription master each on his left and right. On the big screen was the image of 100 fighter jets. Behind each jet was a string of red numbers. If one looked closely, one would see that the red numbers were counting down. Beep. The number was getting closer and closer to 0. The countdown was about to finish for the first fighter jet. Standing beside Mr. Sakiya was an inscription master whose surname was Bien. Elder Bien frowned as he looked at Mr. Sakiya. Must it be destroyed? Mr. Sakiya nodded. Yes. Elder Nyo also frowned. If the second prince did it, we can take these fighter jets back. Why do this? These 100 fighter jets are too precious. The other two elders also looked at Mr. Sakiya. After this incident, Mr. Sakiya still looked pale, but his expression had calmed down. His face was pale because he hadn't recovered from the injury that Jun Linyuan had inflicted on him, and he didn't seem to be recovering at all. Even Emolan didn't know what to do. Mr. Sakiya kept coughing up blood at night, but no one knew about that. What if it wasn't the second prince? Mr. Sakiya's expression was cold. If it wasn't the second prince, could it be the third prince? Everyone asked in unison. Mr. Sakiya rubbed the area between his eyebrows. He only said, "What if it was someone from the Zhenwu Empire?" That's impossible. Elder Bien rejected the idea. It can't have been someone from the Zhenwu Empire. I can swear it on my head. The other elders also expressed that it was impossible. Mr. Sakiya said calmly, "Why not? Since Jun Linyuan exists in this world, nothing is impossible." Chapter 3324. 3325 Why eavesdropping? 3325 Why eavesdropping? He could maintain his composure, but the anger in his heart surged like lava. How can this be? Elder Bien was stunned. He kept muttering to himself. How can this be? How can it be suspended? Mr. Sakia stared at Elder Bien. If I remember correctly, the self-destruct code was written by the four of you, right? That's right. Elder Bien and the other three nodded and admitted. We studied it for decades before we finally developed it. Mr. Sakia said. But now? That's impossible. Elder Bien shook his head. I don't believe anyone can break our inscription code. The other three elders also agreed. Mr. Sakia didn't say a word as he frowned. Could it be that the Jumwa Empire has produced a powerful inscription master? Impossible. Elder Bien was the first to frown. The technology of the Jumwa Empire is much poorer than ours. It's impossible for anyone to stop our self-destruct program. There's more than one. Look, number 002, number 003, number 004. All of these have been suspended. Elder Nyo exclaimed. Everyone gasped. They didn't want to admit it, but they had to admit that the other party's attainments in inscriptions were extraordinary. Mr. Sakia rubbed his brow. He said in resignation, how is the strength of this person who cracked the inscription code compared with yours? Elder Bien blurted out. Definitely not as good as us. Mr. Sakia didn't say a word as he silently looked at Elder Bien. Elder Bien felt a little guilty under his stare. He said weakly, the other party's strength is about the same as ours, right? Mr. Sakia said, I see. Elder Bien couldn't refute Mr. Sakia's retort. After all, their opponent had indeed cracked their code. Elder Bien said, but I'm sure this person is definitely not from the Junwu Empire. They don't have an inscription master this powerful. I can vouch for that with my own head. Mr. Sakia frowned slightly and didn't reply. In fact, Mr. Sakia himself also didn't believe that the person could be from the Junwu Empire. On the big screen, the self-destruct program of all 100 fighter jets had been suspended. Mr. Sakia pointed at Elder Bien. What do you think we should do? Elder Bien patted his chest and said, this is definitely a temporary suspension. Let's modify the code and reactivate the self-destruct program. Without another word, Mr. Sakia stood up and said indifferently, please. He gave his seat to Elder Bien. Elder Bien didn't know what to say. Why did he suddenly feel a little guilty? Meanwhile, Feng Wu finally dismantled the 100th fighter jet and heaved a sigh of relief. She clapped her hands, stood up in the woodshed, and walked straight to Bu Jingyu's small courtyard. Along the way, she didn't meet anyone else. She successfully climbed into the courtyard and appeared in front of Bu Jingyu. Bu Jingyu's eyes lit up when he saw Feng Wu. You're back? Are you alright? You didn't get caught, did you? I'm telling you, you scared me to death. I can't believe senior brother Zhu suspected me and came back. Bu Jingyu had just escaped a disaster. Right now, he was patting his chest and asking Feng Wu for credit, trying to show how good his acting was. He had even fooled the people in the left courtyard next door. Feng Wu said, why were you standing on tiptoe and eavesdropping on everyone next door? Bu Jingyu said, my master is admonishing Elder Bien and the others. He said the self-destruct program they designed isn't good. Elder Bien said he wants to show his real strength and reactivate the self-destruct program automatically. Chapter 3325. 3325 Why eavesdropping? 3325 Why eavesdropping? He could maintain his composure, but the anger in his heart surged like lava. How can this be? Elder Bien was stunned. He kept muttering to himself. How can this be? How can it be suspended? Mr. Sakia stared at Elder Bien. If I remember correctly, the self-destruct code was written by the four of you, right? That's right. Elder Bien and the other three nodded and admitted. We studied it for decades before we finally developed it. Mr. Sakia said, but now? That's impossible. Elder Bien shook his head. I don't believe anyone can break our inscription code. The other three elders also agreed. Mr. Sakia didn't say a word as he frowned. Could it be that the Junwu Empire has produced a powerful inscription master? Impossible. Elder Bien was the first to frown. The technology of the Junwu Empire is much poorer than ours. It's impossible for anyone to stop our self-destruct program. There's more than one. Look, number 002, number 003, number 004. All of these have been suspended. Elder Neo exclaimed. Everyone gasped. They didn't want to admit it, but they had to admit that the other party's attainments in inscriptions were extraordinary. Mr. Sakiya rubbed his brow. He said in resignation, how is the strength of this person who cracked the inscription code compared with yours? Elder Bien blurted out. Definitely not as good as us. Mr. Sakiya didn't say a word as he silently looked at Elder Bien. Elder Bien felt a little guilty under his stare. He said weakly, the other party's strength is about the same as ours, right? Mr. Sakiya said, I see. Elder Bien couldn't refute Mr. Sakiya's retort. After all, their opponent had indeed cracked their code. Elder Bien said, but I'm sure this person is definitely not from the Jemwu Empire. They don't have an inscription master this powerful. I can vouch for that with my own head. Mr. Sakiya frowned slightly and didn't reply. In fact, Mr. Sakiya himself also didn't believe that the person could be from the Jemwu Empire. On the big screen, the self-destruct program of all 100 fighter jets had been suspended. Mr. Sakiya pointed at Elder Bien. What do you think we should do? Elder Bien patted his chest and said, this is definitely a temporary suspension. Let's modify the code and reactivate the self-destruct program. Without another word, Mr. Sakiya stood up and said indifferently, please. He gave his seat to Elder Bien. Elder Bien didn't know what to say. Why did he suddenly feel a little guilty? Meanwhile, Feng Wu finally dismantled the 100th fighter jet and heaved a sigh of relief. She clapped her hands, stood up in the woodshed, and walked straight to Bu Jingyu's small courtyard. Along the way, she didn't meet anyone else. She successfully climbed into the courtyard and appeared in front of Bu Jingyu. Bu Jingyu's eyes lit up when he saw Feng Wu. You're back. Are you all right? You didn't get caught, did you? I'm telling you, you scared me to death. I can't believe senior brother Zhu suspected me and came back. Bu Jingyu had just escaped a disaster. Right now he was patting his chest and asking Feng Wu for credit, trying to show how good his acting was. He had even fooled the people in the left courtyard next door. Feng Wu said, why were you standing on tiptoe and eavesdropping on everyone next door? Bu Jingyu said, my master is admonishing Elder Bien and the others. He said the self-destruct program they designed isn't good. Elder Bien said he wants to show his real strength and reactivate the self-destruct program automatically. Chapter 3326, 3326 Nervous. 3326 Nervous. Feng Wu's eyes flickered. Elder Bien. Who's that? Bu Jingyu said, Elder Bien is amazing. He's one of the most powerful inscription masters in our Dongseng kingdom. He specializes in inscriptions. Even my master admits he's not as good as Elder Bien. Perhaps he can really. Without another word, Feng Wu went next door. Speaking of which, Feng Wu had been quite busy. She had been very nervous and hadn't been able to relax. When Feng Wu went into the left yard, everyone was busy. Only Zhui noticed her. Jingyu, why are you here? Zhui frowned slightly. Feng Wu looked inside and saw Mr. Sakiya and 4 old men arguing. Feng Wu said, I was worried about master, so I came to take a look. Seeing that their master didn't chase Feng Wu away, Zhui let her stay and help with serving tea to the elders. The elders kept discussing and correcting. Finally, they confirmed the final code. However, they had never expected that the most important person, Feng Wu, would be right in front of them. Even Mr. Sakiya didn't notice her. Feng Wu looked like she was about to fall asleep. Worried that Mr. Sakiya would be displeased by Bu Jingyu's laziness, Zhui nudged Feng Wu. If you're tired, go back. Feng Wu looked troubled. But senior brother Zhu, I want to share master's burden. Zhui hurriedly pushed her out. Hurry up and leave. Master will definitely be angry if he sees you like this. Covering her mouth with her hand, Feng Wu yawned and said to Zhui, so, I'm really leaving? Zhui said, go ahead. Feng Wu said, then I'll come and help you after I wake up. Zhui said, "Go ahead." Seeing his junior brother skip back to the courtyard next door, Zhui smiled bitterly. His lazy little junior brother. When would he grow up? The only good thing was that the elders had finally developed a new method. Not only could they reactivate the self-destruct program, they could also locate the fighter jets. Mr. Sakia could finally heave a sigh of relief. When Zhui walked in, he heard his master ask Elder Bien, "When can you make it work?" Elder Bien said proudly, "It'll be done in less than an hour." Meanwhile, Feng Wu was back in Bujingyu's yard. When she turned around, cold sweat broke out on her forehead. It was too dangerous. If she hadn't gone to the courtyard next door, she would have been caught by Mr. Sakia in another hour. When that happened, her life would end, and she could forget about the immortal spiritual fruit. Seeing Feng Wu, Bujingyu rushed up to her and said, "You're finally back. I was so scared of dying just now. I was so worried." While Bujingyu was talking to Feng Wu, she rushed into the house and disappeared into an inner room. Bujingyu was left behind. He subconsciously scratched his head, wondering what was going on. Meanwhile, Feng Wu had already gone into the inner room. She took out the Phoenix pen and started editing. This was all thanks to Elder Bien. Elder Bien had proudly explained his inscription and coding method, so, whoosh, Feng Wu's fingers moved so fast. If not for Elder Bien's spoiler, she wouldn't have known how to modify the program. However, it was very easy to modify it now. Chapter 3327. 3327 Immortal Spiritual Fruit. 3327 Immortal Spiritual Fruit. Seeing Feng Wu's speed again, Bujingyu couldn't believe his eyes. "You're so fast." Bujingyu's eyes widened. "Hey, boss Feng Wu, what are you editing? Didn't you do that already?" Feng Wu said, "Elder Bien next door is locating them as we speak." Bujingyu was so frightened that his face turned pale. Locating them? OMG, were all the inscription masters in Dongsang so powerful? They could even locate the fighter jets. Then, can they trace the fighter jets back to us? Can they really do that? Bujingyu panicked. Feng Wu nodded. Yup. Bujingyu asked, "Then what should we do now?" Feng Wu said, "I'll edit them again." Bujingyu was about to say something else when Feng Wu glanced at him. "If you keep talking, I might not be able to change the last one in time." Bujingyu instantly covered his mouth with both hands, not daring to say a word. Feng Wu was editing with the Phoenix pen in her hand. Bujingyu was dazzled by the speed of her fingers. Feng Wu's hands were cramping up after she finished modifying the inscription propellers. The Phoenix pen fell to the ground, and she didn't even have the strength to pick it up. Bujingyu knelt and picked up the Phoenix pen before putting it in front of Feng Wu respectfully. He was so impressed that he didn't know how to describe Feng Wu. "Are we safe now?" Bujingyu asked weakly. His eyes were wet and filled with anticipation. Looking at her hands, Feng Wu could see that her tendons were twitching. She had been writing so fast that the tendons in her hands throbbed. Feng Wu glanced at Bujingyu and said indifferently, "Let's see if they'll come to capture us." Bujingyu was shocked. He couldn't sleep the entire night. He hugged his blanket and tossed and turned on the bed, unable to fall asleep. Oh God, was Boss Feng Wu fast enough? Does Master know the troublemaker is here? Will Master kill me for this? Martial grandfather, when are you coming back? The poor child was so frightened that he didn't sleep the entire night. When he woke up in the morning, he had the largest dark circles under his eyes, and his face was almost gray. At the same moment, Feng Wu was no longer in Bujingyu's courtyard. Today was the last day before the immortal spiritual fruit ripened. The fruit would fall off the tree and Mr. Sakia would give it to Emolan. Therefore, Feng Wu had wanted to play Mu Yen at first, so that she could go into the lab and repeat what happened last time. Then she could steal the immortal spiritual fruit. After getting the immortal spiritual fruit, she would leave right away. However, things didn't go as planned. To Feng Wu's surprise, Mu Yen wasn't allowed to enter the lab. Mr. Sakia rejected her. Since Mu Yen lost the immortal spiritual fruit previously, Mr. Sakia would never allow her to enter again. To make matters worse, Mr. Sakia would be in the lab. When Emolan was refining the medicine, Mr. Sakia would be watching her for fear of something happening. Feng Wu was speechless when she learned this. Although she had been prepared for this, she was still a little nervous when she saw how cautious Mr. Sakia was. In order to steal the immortal spiritual fruit, she had come up with a total of 3 plans. Plan A was no longer feasible. Plan B was where Feng Wu would play the role of Emolan. Therefore, it was also out of the question. It had to be Plan C. Jingyu, where are you going? Chapter 3328. 3328 What the hell? 3328 What the hell? Jingyu, where are you going? Zhui asked Feng Wu. Of course, Feng Wu couldn't tell him where she was taking Mu Yan. She told Zhui, we're going to visit the crown prince. I wonder how he's doing now. Hearing this, Zhui let her leave. After they were out of Zhuyi's sight, Mu Yan asked Feng Wu in bewilderment. You said you wanted to tell me a secret. What's that? Feng Wu said, we can't talk here. Someone will hear us. Mu Yan asked, is it that serious? Feng Wu said, of course. It's top secret. Mu Yan looked around and finally said to Feng Wu, this place is very close to Lotus Garden, where I live. Let's talk there. Feng Wu nodded and followed Mu Yan. Once they got there, Mu Yan turned around and looked at Feng Wu. Tell me what's the secret? However, before Mu Yan could finish her sentence, Feng Wu had already knocked her out. Mu Yan's last memory was swamp-like darkness. Feng Wu didn't waste any time, because time was of the essence. After putting Mu Yan on the bed and tucking her in, Feng Wu disguised herself as Mu Yan. She and Mu Yan had met many times, so Feng Wu already knew Mu Yan's expressions, choice of words and demeanor. Feng Wu gave Mu Yan a meaningful look. I'm going to make you the scapegoat again. I think I should call you Dr. Scapegoat. If Mu Yan were awake, she would have been driven mad by Feng Wu. Feng Wu left Mu Yan's place and headed for the crown prince's courtyard. Feng Wu had gathered some information already. There were 4 spiritual overlords guarding the main courtyard. They each guarded one direction. There was also a spiritual saint. He was the deputy general manager of the Dongseng Kingdom's royal palace. Ever since Night Owl was chosen as the crown prince, this deputy general manager had been following him and protecting him. When Night Owl and Jun Linyuan fought, Feng and the deputy director had both been searching for something. That was why the battle had gone out of control. Now, the deputy general manager was afraid that something would happen to Night Owl again, so he had been guarding him in the room. Behind a curtain, the deputy general manager sat in a corner and closed his eyes to rest. Feng Wu took a deep breath. She had to be bold and careful, because this mission would decide everything. Just as Feng Wu was about to start setting up a trap, the deputy general manager's cold voice came from behind her. Feng Wu stiffened and felt a chill run down her spine. She had to play it right. Feng Wu turned around and complained to the deputy general manager. I can't believe you're from the palace. How can you be so unromantic? Feng Wu had brought some warm water over earlier, so she was taking off Night Owl's clothes to wipe him down. His Royal Highness likes to keep things clean. You know that. Besides, we were already as intimate as a married couple. Why don't you leave us alone? The deputy general manager had never seen such a straightforward girl. He really didn't like her. However, he knew what his young master was like, so he turned around and walked out. On his way out, the deputy general manager gave Feng Wu a warning look. Don't make the young master too tired. Feng Wu was speechless. She wasn't going to do anything to Night Owl. Chapter 3329. 3329 The Critical Moment. 3329 The Critical Moment. After the deputy general manager left, Feng Wu took out a few more inscription bombs. While the deputy general manager was not paying attention, she secretly stuffed the inscription bombs under Night Owl's bed and the blanket. The inscription bombs varied in size. The big one was the size of a football, and the small one was the size of a fist. The inscription bomb that Feng Wu put under Night Owl's blanket was only the size of a fist. If one didn't lift the blanket, it would be impossible to tell it was there. By the time Feng Wu finished making the special arrangements, she had used up more than half of her time. She was making preparations, just in case something unexpected happened. However, what Feng Wu didn't notice was Night Owl's fingers twitching under the blanket. In fact, his eyeballs also moved slightly. However, he had yet to completely wake up. Just then footsteps came from outside. Emolan came with Mr. Sakiya, who was recuperating in a wheelchair. Feng Wu glanced at Mr. Sakiya. Mr. Sakiya was invincible in the Dongseng Kingdom, and was ranked as one of the 3 dukes. Although his face was pale, he was cold and solemn, and his eyes were as deep as water. No one could tell what he was thinking. When he stared at someone, it was as if the secret hidden deep in one's heart would be revealed. Luckily, Feng Wu had a tough mind. When Mr. Sakiya's lightning-like gaze fell on her, she handled the situation perfectly, reacting the way Mu Yan would. Therefore, even someone as observant as Mr. Sakiya didn't notice anything wrong with Feng Wu. Emolan removed her hand from the back of Mr. Sakiya's wheelchair and took out a bottle of medicinal liquid. Feng Wu lowered her eyes. To be able to refine a medicinal liquid that was as light as water was enough to show that Emolan's medical skills were as good as hers. Feng Wu stepped in front of Emolan and said calmly, "Master, please take care of Mr. Sakiya. Let me help you." Emolan was about to give the liquid to Feng Wu. However, before she could reach out, Mr. Sakiya frowned slightly and said firmly, "Emolan, you do it." After Mu Yan failed the previous time, Mr. Sakiya no longer trusted her. Seeing that her disciple was dejected, Molan patted her shoulder and encouraged her. "You have to work hard to eliminate others' doubts about you, understand?" "Right." Feng Wu lowered her head and looked aggrieved. Her original plan was to get the liquid from Emolan and replace it. However, now that her plan had failed, Feng Wu began to feel a little nervous. Because she only had one last chance. "Mr. Sakiya urged, Emolan, what are you waiting for?" Once the liquid was injected, Night Owl's illness would recover, and he would be able to wake up. Mr. Sakiya was afraid of further complications, so he kept urging Emolan. Emolan wanted to give the opportunity to her disciple, but in the end, at Mr. Sakiya's urging, she could only take a look at her disciple before standing beside Night Owl. And at this moment, Night Owl was on the verge of waking up. He had opened his eyes a little before. His mind was clear, so he knew very well what was under his blanket, and even what was under his bed. Therefore, he tried his best to wake up. However, the more anxious he was, the more chaotic the spiritual essence in his body became. In the end, Night Owl's entire body stiffened. Chapter 3330, 3330 Blow Up Night Owl. 3330 Blow Up Night Owl. However, Night Owl's moving fingers made contact with the inscription bomb, and it was cold to the touch. He really wanted to warn Emolan to take the inscription bombs away. Otherwise, they would explode. Also, that disciple of hers was a traitor. A blatant traitor. Because of his anger, Night Owl's face was flushed and covered in sweat. Emolan frowned. "The Crown Prince's condition isn't good. We have to inject the liquid quickly." As she spoke, Emolan took out a syringe and was about to inject the immortal spiritual fruit medicinal liquid into Night Owl's body. At such a critical moment, boom, there was a loud explosion outside. A small fist-sized inscription bomb could blow up a house. Of course, the main courtyard was protected by a formation, but Feng Wu was an expert at dismantling formations, so she had already made preparations. The inscription bombs she had set up exploded at the most critical moment. Speaking of which, she had learned that from the self-destruct program in the inscription propellers. Feng Wu was very grateful to Elder Bian. "What's going on?" In an instant, everyone's attention was attracted by the explosion outside. Even Mr. Sakiya couldn't help but turn his head. Because an important corner of the formation he set up had actually been broken and couldn't protect the courtyard. Therefore, the entire house was shaking, and half of the courtyard collapsed from the explosion. Mr. Sakia's expression was extremely ugly. Continuous setbacks made the calm and composed Mr. Sakia look angry and frustrated. However, standing next to him, Feng Wu smiled. Night Owl saw it. He saw with his own eyes Mu Yen actually sneer in a strange way. The next second, Feng Wu mouthed one word: explode. No. Night Owl wanted to cry. However, the explosion really happened. Night Owl couldn't understand why these inscription bombs were so obedient to the girl. When she ordered them to explode, they really did. Boom! Master, be careful. Feng Wu triggered an explosion when everyone's attention was on the outside. Given what she learned from Elder Bien, she could now set the inscription bombs to explode whenever she wanted. Because of the sudden turn of events, Emolan didn't react in time. Feng Wu jumped up, pinned Emolan under her, and used her own body to block the explosion. Emolan was knocked back by Feng Wu while Feng Wu was still holding onto her hand. Hence, she let go of the tube in her hand, and it was about to fall to the ground. Feng Wu caught it. Master, are you all right? Feng Wu looked at Emolan anxiously. Emolan choked on the smoke and quickly waved her hand. I'm fine. I'll take a look at the Crown Prince first. The explosion happened with Night Owl at the center. Emolan couldn't imagine what kind of condition Night Owl would be in now. Mr. Sakia's face was already as dark as soy sauce. How could he still sit in the wheelchair? He had already rushed forward. Your Royal Highness? Mr. Sakia pulled Night Owl out of the flames with his bare hands. Feng Wu could feel a scorching glare coming from Night Owl. He was staring at her. Feng Wu felt suffocated. So Night Owl saw everything. That was bad news. Feng Wu had accomplished all her goals. She couldn't stay here any longer. Chapter 3331. 3331 The Deceived Crown Prince. 3331 The Deceived Crown Prince. Feng Wu said to Emolan, Master, the Crown Prince is seriously injured. I'll go back and get him some medicine. Emolan didn't suspect her at all, and quickly waved her hand. Go. Quickly. Feng Wu could still feel Night Owl's furious gaze on her when she walked out. Feng Wu bowed and hurried away. Feng Wu ran out of the yard and dashed off. The castle gate. She had to rush out of the castle gate before Mr. Sakia could react. Otherwise, if she was locked up inside, she wouldn't be able to do anything. Miss Mu Yen, where are you going? A voice rang out behind Feng Wu. Feng Wu saw 5 people in a row. It was the 5 brothers. Special blood. Seeing the 5 brothers, Feng Wu was reminded of the special blood. These 5 brothers had competed against her in an eating competition, but they were defeated. Of course, she was now acting as Mu Yen, so they couldn't recognize her. Feng Wu was conflicted. The special blood. If she had time, she would definitely make a trip to Emolan's medicine refinery to steal some special blood for research, but time was too tight. No one knew when Mr. Sakia would see through her trick. No one knew if Night Owl would suddenly speak. Hence, Feng Wu decided not to be greedy. Babu, I'll take your mount, Feng Wu said to one of the 5 brothers. Babu was riding a Shire horse. Its shoulder height was 195 centimeters, and it weighed over a ton, so it could support Babu. The 5 brothers were all riding such horses. For Feng Wu, that horse was like an elephant. If she had a choice, Feng Wu wouldn't choose such a mount, because the Shire horse was a cold-blooded horse. Cold-blooded horses were huge, quiet and steady by nature. They were usually used to working just like cows. However, she had no choice now. Before Babu could react, Feng Wu took his horse. Clip-clop, clip-clop. Feng Wu rode toward the castle gate. Babu and the rest looked at each other in confusion. What was wrong with Mu Yen? She was acting like someone was chasing after her. Moreover, she had actually taken a fancy to a Shire horse as a mount? How strange. Feng Wu didn't care if others thought she was strange or not. She would run as far as she could, preferably all the way back to Ness Fortress. Soon Feng Wu arrived at the gate. Meanwhile, in the main courtyard of the great general's residence, Night Owl. This crown prince was really pitiful. He had blown up Jun Linyuan before, and Feng Wu had taken revenge on him. His entire body was charred black, His hair was the most severely affected and was almost completely burnt. Even though Mr. Sakia had saved him in time, smoke was still rising from his body. However, Night Owl had the physique of a spiritual saint, so the inscription bomb could only injure his skin and not his internal organs. However, how could Night Owl take this lying down? Moo! Moo! Night Owl couldn't move yet, but he had to say the culprit's name even if it cost him his life. Emolan sat in front of Night Owl's bed and looked at him in concern. Calm down. Mu Yen has already gone to get the pills and will be back soon. Don't worry. Your injuries are all minor. She thought Night Owl was calling Mu Yan's name. However, Night Owl was still moving his lips. Moo. Moo. Chapter 3332. 3332 Take the blame. 3332 Take the blame. However, Night Owl was still moving his lips. Moo. Moo. Emolan said. Are you still trying to move in this state? Don't think about it anymore. The treatment is more important. After that, she looked around and wondered why Mu Yen wasn't back yet. However, Mr. Sakia looked at Night Owl and was alarmed when he saw the anger in his eyes. You mean Mu Yen? Night Owl blinked, then blinked hard. Mr. Sakia's heart skipped a beat. He had a very bad feeling. He asked Emolan, where's the immortal spiritual fruit liquid? Emolan said unhappily, it's right here. She was holding the potion in her hand. Then she handed it to Mr. Sakia. The medicine bottles were all standard ones, so there was no difference in their appearance. However, Mr. Sakia's eyelid twitched. He grabbed a servant of the Crown Prince and injected the medicine into him. At first, the servant was fine, but soon, the servant's face turned ashen. His body trembled, and he fell to the ground, never to wake up again. Mr. Sakia put a finger under his nose, but the servant was no longer breathing. When Emolan saw Mr. Sakia's reaction, she hurriedly went forward to check the servant's breathing. Her expression instantly changed. Emolan asked, is he dead? Mr. Sakia kept a straight face and didn't say a word. Emolan said, how can this be? I refined the liquid myself. How could this happen? Mr. Sakia was so angry that he couldn't say a word. He was on guard, but it was still impossible to guard against his enemy. It was Mu Yen. Mr. Sakia turned around and rushed out. Mu Yen. How could it be Mu Yen? Emolan couldn't understand. What did this have to do with Mu Yen? She lowered her head and looked at the potion in her hand. Did Sakia mean Mu Yen had switched out the potion? But that was impossible. However, Mu Yen never came back. Emolan really wanted to rush out and capture Mu Yen, so that she could clarify this matter, but now that Night Owl had to be treated, she had no time to go out. Emolan shouted at Mr. Sakia's back, find Mu Yen. Don't kill her. However, Mr. Sakia didn't reply. In Mu Yen's courtyard, when Mr. Sakia came in, he realized the place had been ransacked. The clothes in the wardrobe had been thrown everywhere, and the floor had been turned over. Master, there's no sign of Mu Yen. Mr. Sakia frowned deeply as he surveyed his surroundings. Finally, he ordered coldly, split up and find her. Put a bounty on her head. Yes. His second disciple nodded and left. As for Bu Jingyu, he almost couldn't breathe properly. Mu Yen had been knocked out by Feng Wu in her room, but when Feng Wu was forced by Mr. Sakia to choose Plan C, she asked someone to deliver a letter to Bu Jingyu. The letter was very simple. It told Bu Jingyu that if he didn't want to be exposed, he would follow Feng Wu's instructions. The steps were also listed in the letter. It was the process of faking the scene to make it look like Mu Yen had escaped with her belongings and finally disappeared. Where was Mu Yen? By then, she had long been killed by Bu Jingyu. Her corpse had also been dissolved by a melting potion. She was dead without a trace. If anyone had to take the blame for what Feng Wu had done, it would be Mu Yen. Mr. Sakia could only trace things back to Mu Yen and not Bu Jingyu. Chapter 3333. 3333 Endless Pursuit. 3333 Endless Pursuit. Bu Jingyu was such an obedient helper that Feng Wu might be able to use him as a disguise again in the future. At the same moment, Feng Wu rode the horse into the Dayless Woods. The Shire horse was good at carrying burdens, but not traveling. Hence, Feng Wu let go of it and drove it into the territory of a beast king. She knew very well that the Shire horse would be devoured by the beast king. What she wanted was to leave no evidence behind. Mr. Sakia would definitely investigate. She only hoped Babu wouldn't say anything unnecessary. But in fact, that was impossible. When Mr. Sakia issued the bounty, Babu immediately came looking for him. The person who greeted Babu was Mr. Sakia's second disciple. Yu Ming, the second disciple, was a vicious person. When he heard Babu mention Mu Yan, he immediately brought him to see Mr. Sakia. Then Mr. Sakia quickly found out that Mu Yan had run to the Junwa Empire. Mr. Sakia's expression was extremely ugly. Mu Yan. Emolan tried to defend her. No, Mu Yan wouldn't do that. Mr. Sakia stared at Emolan. She was also the one who lost the first immortal spiritual fruit. Emolan was speechless. At that moment, Zhui rushed over and handed him a book. Master, I found this book in Mu Yan's room. The title of the book was revealed to everyone. It was Basic Language of the Junwa Empire. Everyone was astonished. Mr. Sakia recalled a girl who had complained to him once, saying that Mu Yan liked Jun Linyuan so much that she was going crazy. In the past, Mr. Sakia wouldn't have thought of this possibility, but now, something like this had happened. When Mr. Sakia accepted the assumption that Mu Yan was crazy about Jun Linyuan, he realized that everything made sense. Mu Yan had betrayed the Dongseng kingdom because she was crazy about Jun Linyuan. Mu Yan was crazy about Jun Linyuan, so she stole the first immortal spiritual fruit. Mu Yan was crazy about Jun Linyuan, so she stole the second immortal spiritual fruit. Mu Yan was crazy about Jun Linyuan. Mr. Sakia thought of the destroyed fighter jet base. Could Mu Yan have contributed to that? Mr. Sakia was about to go crazy from anger. And at this moment, Yu Ming told him Babu had seen Mu Yan, who had even taken his horse. Furthermore, the Shire horse had run toward the Junwu Empire. How could Mr. Sakia sit still? He lowered his head and shouted, "Deputy General Manager, please come with us." The Deputy General Manager stared at Mr. Sakia with dark eyes. His duty was to protect the Crown Prince, Night Owl. The rest was none of his business. But this time he was also furious. He was an invincible existence at the spiritual saint stage, yet he was tricked by a girl. That girl was really thick-skinned. She looked like she wanted to sleep with the Crown Prince, but it was only a deception. The Deputy General Manager stared at Mr. Sakia but didn't agree directly. Instead, he turned to look at Night Owl. He said to Mr. Sakia, "I'll go once the Crown Prince is no longer in critical condition." Mr. Sakia realized he couldn't order the Deputy General Manager around. He felt even more enraged. However, he was usually calm and collected, and this time was no exception. Mr. Sakia left with several spiritual overlords. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was dashing toward the border of the Junwu Empire. She was sprinting at a speed she had never experienced in her life. Run! 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 She couldn't get caught. Chapter 33-34. 33-34 Dragon Phoenix Blood. 33-34 Dragon Phoenix Blood. Wait! Feng Wu suddenly remembered something. She still looked like Mu Yan. She had to change her appearance back as soon as possible. Otherwise, if she was caught, she would have to take the blame for Mu Yan. Feng Wu found an ancient tree with lush branches and leaves at the top, jumped on it, and quickly changed her clothes. Her headdress, her face, her clothes. She changed back into her original appearance. She was dressed in bright red, and exuded a refreshing aura. Feng Wu jumped from tree to tree like a nimble monkey. Because she had the sacred imperial spider's golden bead, and knew the layout of the Dayless Woods, she didn't go astray. She rushed to the border of the Junwu Empire in a safe way. Once she passed the Peacock's Woods, she would reach the border of the Junwu Empire. The Peacock King looked at Feng Wu in surprise when she went past. "You're back." Feng Wu threw a small bottle containing a semi-divine essence pill at the peacock. The Peacock King was dumbfounded. Why did she suddenly give it such a precious gift? As she ran, Feng Wu told the peacock, "If Mr. Sakiya and the others come after me, don't tell them I've been to the Dongseng Kingdom." Before the peacock realized what Feng Wu meant, Feng Wu was already gone. The Peacock King muttered, "What happened?" Suddenly, the Peacock King was struck by a thought. Had the girl caused trouble in the Dongseng Kingdom? Mr. Sakiya must be pursuing her. Oh no. I can't stay here. It had a long-term cooperative relationship with the Dongseng Kingdom, and had always sided with the latter. If Mr. Sakiya came here and asked about Feng Wu, should it answer or not? The Peacock King hurriedly hid the semi-divine pill in its pocket, and quickly walked back to its nest. Just as the peacock entered the cultivation state, Mr. Sakiya arrived with his men. Behind Mr. Sakiya were 4 spiritual overlords, and the 5 of them stopped in unison. Mr. Sakiya walked up to the peacock and stared at it with his cold eyes. The Peacock King's stomach lurched. "No, I can't open my eyes. I can't wake up." It couldn't answer Mr. Sakiya's questions. Although it was a beast king, it understood human principles. It had to keep its promise. Mr. Sakiya's deep, cold eyes were like needles as he stared at the Peacock King. His stare seemed to become colder and colder. The Peacock King refused to exit its cultivation state no matter what. Never. The corners of Mr. Sakiya's mouth curled up into a sneer. He knew the Peacock King well. The way the peacock reacted meant that there was a problem. Mr. Sakiya raised his hand. "Let's go." Meanwhile, inside Nest Fortress. In Jun Linyuan's yard. In the basement. A pair of tightly shut eyes slowly opened. In an instant, it was like an explosion of a myriad of stars. His face was cold and expressionless. The atmosphere was solemn and silent. His breath carried the aura of a dragon and a phoenix. Jun Linyuan, the peerless young man who was feared by everyone, finally pushed open the door and walked out of the dark basement. Feng had been standing outside with his hands on either side. Even if the outside world was destroyed, he wouldn't take a step away from the door. The door opened, and the young man appeared in front of him. "Young master." In a moment of desperation, the steward addressed Jun Linyuan that way. He had always referred to him as Your Royal Highness. Jun Linyuan frowned. "Young master." Before Jun Linyuan could ask anything, Feng realized he had made a mistake and changed the subject. "Your Royal Highness, Miss Wu's life is in danger." Chapter 33-35. 33-35 Great Opportunity. 33-35 Great Opportunity. Meanwhile, Feng Wu had no idea that Jun Linyuan had woken up. She was running as fast as she could. She wanted to cover as much ground as possible. Soon, Feng Wu arrived at the Sacred Imperial Spider's territory. Ever since Feng Wu left, the Sacred Imperial Spider hadn't had a good night's sleep. As soon as it closed its eyes, it would imagine how Mr. Sakiya would smash Feng Wu into a pulp. When it opened its eyes again, it would worry about how Jun Linyuan would crush it into a pancake. As the Sacred Imperial Spider tossed and turned, it was startled by Feng Wu. "You're back." The Sacred Imperial Spider looked at Feng Wu in delight. Feng Wu nodded and returned the golden bead to the Sacred Imperial Spider. "This saved my life. It's a little worn out." The Sacred Imperial Spider took a look. Worn out was an understatement. The bead had almost become flat. The Sacred Imperial Spider swallowed the golden bead and told Feng Wu, "So be it. I have nothing to do anyway. I'll be able to nourish it once more." Feng Wu handed the Sacred Imperial Spider a bottle of all-purpose transformation liquid. "This is your compensation." "All-purpose transformation liquid?" The Sacred Imperial Spider was excited. "How did you get this treasure?" Feng Wu asked. "Is it useful to you?" The Sacred Imperial Spider said, "Of course it's useful. It's too useful. I've always been stuck at this bottleneck. If I have the help of the all-purpose transformation liquid, not only can I break through, my physique might also change." You're really my lucky star. That was good news. Feng Wu heaved a sigh of relief. I can't run anymore. If Mr. Sakia comes later, give me a hand. The sacred imperial spider nodded. However, it was very curious. What did you do over there to make Mr. Sakia chase after you? Feng Wu said. I'll tell you once everything blows over. The sacred imperial spider knew now wasn't the time to talk about this, so it nodded. Feng Wu took a few mouthfuls of recovery medicine before she felt better. The sacred imperial spider had its underlings, who had already gone to inform Nest's people. Soon, they would send someone to protect Feng Wu. Moreover, there was a good chance that Mr. Sakia wouldn't recognize Feng Wu as Mu Yan. Feng Wu was right. Soon Mr. Sakia arrived with his men. When he reached the sacred imperial spider's woods, he suddenly frowned and stopped. Mr. Sakia had his suspicions along the way. He knew Mu Yan's abilities. Mr. Sakia was personally leading the chase. 4 spiritual overlords came with him, and one of them was his eldest disciple Zhu Yi. With such a team, it was impossible for them not to catch up to Mu Yan. However, they never saw her along the way. Therefore Mr. Sakia was a little suspicious. Either Mu Yan had been hiding her strength, or that person wasn't Mu Yan at all. Someone was pretending to be her. Mr. Sakia had a keen intuition. He stared at the sacred imperial spider. For some reason, he felt that person had entered the sacred imperial spider's woods. Hence Mr. Sakia led the team inside. When he entered, the sacred imperial spider was sitting on the roof cultivating. It had already had the 3 lucky draws provided by the all-purpose transformation liquid. Perhaps it was because good people were always rewarded for their good deeds, but the sacred imperial spider had gained a lot this time. The first 2 draws were all cultivation experience points, which meant that its cultivation could increase greatly. Chapter 3336, 3336 Admit Your Crime. 3336 Admit Your Crime. The third draw was an energy that could change one's physique. This was a treasure that the sacred imperial spider had always dreamed of. At this moment, one could imagine how excited the sacred imperial spider was. Just as the sacred imperial spider was feeling excited, Mr. Sakia arrived. The first thing Mr. Sakia saw was the sacred imperial spider. He frowned imperceptibly. This sacred imperial spider gave him a feeling similar to the Peacock King. Both of them had the same guilty conscience. Master. Yuming pointed at the person busy working in the field with her pants rolled up. Mr. Sakia turned his head and saw a familiar figure. Even Zhu Yi recognized her at a glance. Wasn't she the rising star from the Jumwu Empire? Feng Wu was digging for military badges with her pants rolled up. When she saw Mr. Sakia, she waved at him and greeted him in a clear voice. Mr. Sakia, hello. Long time no see. How have you been? How else could Mr. Sakia have been? He was about to die from anger. Mr. Sakia kept staring at Feng Wu with brooding looks in his eyes. Feng Wu's back went a little stiff. She was a little flustered. Did Bu Jingyu follow her instructions? Did Mr. Sakia find out that Mu Yan wasn't the real one? Had her whereabouts been exposed? Feng Wu didn't know the answers, so she pretended that Mr. Sakia hadn't figured out what she was doing. In any case, she wouldn't admit it, and she wouldn't be caught red-handed. Yuming darted a look at Feng Wu, and then at his master. All of a sudden, a plan formed in his mind. Pointing at Feng Wu, Yuming said, Feng Wu, how dare you? What have you done? Feng Wu was almost scared to death. Did Mr. Sakia recognize her as Mu Yan? That wasn't right. If Mr. Sakia had recognized her, the first glance he gave her wouldn't have been a probing look. Instead, it would have been filled with anger and killing intent. So, Yuming was bluffing. Feng Wu glared at Yuming. What are you screaming for? I don't know what you're talking about. Yuming was speechless. As expected, Yuming was a little intimidated by Feng Wu's tough demeanor. Yuming stole a glance at his master from the corner of his eye. Seeing that the latter had no intention of objecting, he knew Mr. Sakia had tacitly given him approval. With his teacher's tacit approval, Yu Ming immediately said righteously, "You stole 100 of the Dongseng Kingdom's fighter jets. How are we going to settle this score?" Feng Wu's stomach lurched. 100 fighter jets. He was right. However, Feng Wu didn't believe Mr. Sakia could find that out. Were they trying to trick her? What Feng Wu didn't know was that the sacred imperial spider was flabbergasted. 100 fighter jets. Oh my god! When this girl made a move, she could shock everyone. However, Feng Wu looked confused. 100 fighter jets. What about them? Yu Ming said. Stop pretending. You stole them. Feng Wu chuckled as she studied Yu Ming. The Dongseng Kingdom lost 100 fighter jets, and they were stolen? Really? That's hilarious. Seeing the gloating look on Feng Wu's face, Yu Ming was frustrated. He didn't know what to say when Feng Wu acted so unreasonably. Zhui stared at him with a displeased look. It wasn't Feng Wu, so how could Yu Ming blame it on her? What Yu Ming was doing wasn't something a gentleman would do. Chapter 3337. 3337 Save Her Life. 3337 Save Her Life. Mr. Sakia's gaze was gloomy and unfathomable the entire time. Zhui looked at Yu Ming and shook his head. You shouldn't have done that. Yu Ming looked at Zhui with dissatisfaction and secretly gritted his teeth. He wasn't doing it for himself. It was to help the Dongseng Kingdom. Feng Wu stole 100 fighter jets from the Dongseng Kingdom. Yu Ming wouldn't let it go. He stared at his master. It was such a good opportunity to take Feng Wu away. Why should they let it go? He had asked around and found out that Feng Wu was Jun Linyuan's girlfriend. If they took her away, they would be able to blackmail Jun Linyuan. The two forces were at war. If the Dongseng Kingdom could blackmail Jun Linyuan, they would be invincible. How smart was Mr. Sakia? How could he not think of something that Yu Ming could think of? However, Mr. Sakia thought deeper. On the surface, all the evidence pointed to Mu Yen. But was it really Mu Yen? Couldn't it be Feng Wu? Mr. Sakia waved his hand. Bring her back. Yu Ming and another spiritual overlord hurried over and were about to detain Feng Wu. Feng Wu frowned. Mr. Sakia, I've always respected you as a wise elder. It's not like you confuse right and wrong. However, Feng Wu's words didn't stop Mr. Sakia, because Yu Ming's words reminded him. Jun Linyuan. The stunning Jun Linyuan. He had woken up and recovered his cultivation ability. From Jun Linyuan, Sakia's thoughts went to his own crown prince. No matter how magnanimous Mr. Sakia was, he would still favor his own side. Night Owl was lying in bed, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. Why could Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu enjoy each other's company after the former recovered his strength? Besides, no matter how innocent Feng Wu looked, Sakia still found her suspicious. Take her away, ordered Mr. Sakia. The spider became flustered. It was at the critical moment of its breakthrough. However, it couldn't accept that Mr. Sakia wanted to take Feng Wu away, because it knew very well Feng Wu really had gone to the Dongseng Kingdom to cause trouble. If they really took Feng Wu away, it would be hard for her to keep a secret under torture. Once the truth was out, Feng Wu would die, and the spider knew Jun Linyuan would slap it to death. At that thought, the sacred imperial spider appeared between Mr. Sakia and Feng Wu. Wait! The spider stared at Mr. Sakia. This is my territory. Shouldn't you ask for my permission first? Mr. Sakia stared at the sacred imperial spider and waved his hand. This is none of your business. The sacred imperial spider didn't move. Mr. Sakia's expression was unprecedentedly serious as he warned the spider. Do you really think I won't dare touch you? When Mr. Sakia was gentle, he had the image of a civilized scholar, but when he was angry, he could create a stir that reminded one of a storm, making people tremble involuntarily. The sacred imperial spider stared at Mr. Sakia in disbelief. Are you a junior spiritual saint now? The sacred imperial spider remembered clearly that Mr. Sakia hadn't been that powerful before. He had been severely injured by Jun Linyuan and was on the verge of death. He wasn't supposed to be so powerful. Mr. Sakia was also staring at the sacred imperial spider. You have also reached the threshold of the spiritual saint stage. The sacred imperial spider snorted. You finally noticed. Although the sacred imperial spider hadn't completely advanced to the spiritual saint stage, it had already touched the threshold. Given time, it would advance to the spiritual saint stage in less than a day. Chapter 3338, 3338 Crisis. 3338 Crisis. Mr. Sakia said indifferently, if you don't want all your years of cultivation to go to waste, stand aside. Are you threatening me? The sacred imperial spider asked angrily. Mr. Sakia said, you're a smart creature. What he meant was that a smart creature should protect itself and not get involved blindly. The sacred imperial spider also wanted to protect itself. It wasn't easy to advance to the spiritual saint stage, and it was only halfway through its breakthrough. It would be such a pity if it died here. The spider was conflicted. At this moment, a figure appeared in the sacred imperial spider's woods. Mr. Sakia? Fengwu turned around, and her heart sank. Elder Dongfang. The sacred imperial spider turned around and was surprised to see Elder Dongfang. Why was she here? Where was Elder Helian, who was close to Fengwu? The spider remembered that Elder Dongfang wanted Fengwu dead. The sacred imperial spider immediately felt even more pressure. Behind Elder Dongfang were 4 spiritual overlords. At that moment she was staring at Mr. Sakia. Mr. Sakia and Elder Dongfang were old acquaintances. He didn't say anything else as he silently stared at Elder Dongfang. Elder Dongfang frowned. What happened? Before Fengwu could say anything, the sacred imperial spider spoke up for her. Mr. Sakia wants to take her away as a hostage and threaten Jun Linyuan and Ness Fortress. Yu Ming immediately said, Fengwu stole 100 fighter jets from the Dongseng Kingdom. What? Elder Dongfang turned to Fengwu. Was she that capable? Fengwu knew that Yu Ming didn't know she had really stolen 100 fighter jets. She knew he was framing her, but it just so happened that she had stolen them. Of course, Fengwu would never admit it. She stared at Yu Ming and sneered. Fighter jets? 100 of them. Gosh, can't you see what level I am at? I'm a level 6 spiritual king. Are all the people from the Dongseng Kingdom idiots? There are so many spiritual overlords, and even spiritual saints in Sun Castle. How could I, a level 6 spiritual king, steal your fighter jets, let alone 100 of them? If you want to frame me, at least use your brain. Yu Ming flushed at Fengwu's scolding, but he couldn't refute her. Because what Fengwu said made perfect sense. Elder Dongfang thought for a moment, and realized Fengwu was right. She was only a level 6 spiritual king, so how could she steal 100 fighter jets from Sun Castle, which was full of powerful cultivators? Fengwu would be lying through her teeth if she said she did it. What was more? Elder Dongfang glared at Fengwu. Haven't you been in the magical equipment division for the past few days? Fengwu said, That's right. I've been in the magical equipment division all this time. I just came out for a breather today, and the spider brought me here to work for it. However, he accused me of stealing 100 fighter jets. If I had the ability to steal them, I wouldn't be here picking up military badges. The sacred imperial spider almost wanted to applaud Fengwu. She was so damn right. If she had such ability, why would she be here? Elder Dongfang said to Mr. Sakia, Mr. Sakia, have we clarified this matter? Mr. Sakia shot a suspicious glance at Elder Dongfang. He knew about the war between the military academy and Imperial College. He also knew that Elder Dongfang and Fengwu were at loggerheads, but Elder Dongfang was defending Fengwu now. Chapter 3339, 3339 Elder Dongfang. 3339 Elder Dongfang. Yu Ming said directly, Elder Dongfang, it's best if you don't interfere in this matter. It will do you good. Fengwu was alarmed. Was hostile to her to begin with, if she helped the Dongseng Kingdom now. However, to Fengwu's surprise, Elder Dongfang smirked. In the Zhengwu Empire, There is competition between the military academy and imperial college. However, at the national level, the military academy and imperial college have always had the same goal. Stared at Mr. Sakiya. That's why I won't allow you to take Feng Wu away. Feng Wu looked at Elder Dongfang in surprise. Her behavior reminded Feng Wu of a character she had read about in a novel before. That character wasn't very likable, but she was principled. Somehow, Elder Dongfang seemed to have a halo above her head. Feng Wu wondered which Elder Dongfang was the real one. Mr. Sakiya stared at Elder Dongfang. Are you not going to back off? Said. The people of the Zhenwu Empire won't swallow such a humiliation. Mr. Sakiya nodded. I respect your choice. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them stood opposite each other. Feng Wu could feel the tension in the air. There was deadly killing intent between Mr. Sakiya and Elder Dongfang. Glared at Feng Wu. Back off. Feng Wu gave Elder Dongfang a meaningful look. This battle was beyond the capability of a level 6 spiritual king. No matter how good she was at fighting, there was no way she could ignore the gap between their levels. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu accepted Elder Dongfang's kindness and stood behind her. Bring it on. Elder Dongfang bluntly invited Mr. Sakiya to fight to the death. Strong killing intent gathered between them. Before Feng Wu could react, Elder Dongfang and Mr. Sakiya had already started fighting. Was a peak level 9 spiritual overlord. Mr. Sakiya was at the initial stage of a spiritual saint, but he was severely injured. Before Feng Wu could react, the two people were already fighting in midair. The sacred imperial spider watched the battle for a while and grew anxious. It said to Feng Wu, although Elder Dongfang isn't injured, there's a world of difference between a peak level 9 spiritual overlord and an early-stage spiritual saint. Your elder will definitely lose. That was what Feng Wu thought. Hence she became anxious. It had been so many days. Hadn't Jun Linyuan come out of seclusion yet? Feng Wu didn't place her hopes on the general, because the general Mr. Su and Elder Helion had gone to fight the 4 Dongsang masters, so they couldn't spare any time. Feng Wu had wondered if Elder Dongfang was up to something, but when she saw how badly Mr. Sakiya injured Elder Dongfang and the blood she vomited, Feng Wu finally believed her. Thump! Was sent flying by Mr. Sakiya. She crashed into a huge tree with a bang. The tree that was thick enough for 5 people to wrap their arms around was crushed, but Elder Dongfang kept flying backward. She only stopped after crushing over 10 big trees. Mr. Sakiya was about to step forward, when Feng Wu stared at him coldly. Mr. Sakiya, I used to respect you, but I despise you for what you've done. She then ran toward Elder Dongfang. Chapter 3340, 3340 Jun Linyuan, help your girl. 3340 Jun Linyuan, help your girl. Feng Wu stuffed a semi-divine golden crow pill into Elder Dongfang's mouth and fed her the all-purpose transformation liquid. Before Elder Dongfang could react, she swallowed something that others couldn't even dream of. Elder Dongfang only felt a chill in her abdomen. The burning sensation in her throat was also suppressed. What did you feed me? Elder Dongfang forced the blood back down and glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, a semi-divine golden crow pill. Elder Dongfang frowned. What else? Feng Wu said, all-purpose transformation liquid. Elder Dongfang frowned even more. Glaring at Feng Wu, she pushed the latter away. I don't need your fake kindness. Poor Feng Wu. She was pushed to the ground by Elder Dongfang. Meanwhile, Elder Dongfang had already risen to her feet. Staring at Feng Wu, she snorted. You can't please me like that. I'll settle the score with you when we get back. With that, Elder Dongfang staggered toward Mr. Sakiya. Feng Wu looked at Elder Dongfang in resignation. What a stubborn but soft-hearted old lady. By then more and more people came from Mr. Sakiya's side. To Feng Wu's horror, the deputy general manager was here. Bu Jingyu, Mo Lan, and some people she had met before were all here. Even Night Owl was here. That shocked Feng Wu. What was the Crown Prince Night Owl doing here? Half of Night Owl's head was wrapped in white gauze. He was wearing a hat, which covered the wound a little. He was pushed over in a wheelchair. Feng Wu could sense an indescribable ferocity in Night Owl's eyes. Her stomach lurched. Did Night Owl notice something? Night Owl couldn't finish his sentence. Pointing at Feng Wu, he glared at her. Bu Jingyu broke out in a cold sweat. Oh my god! He won't recognize Feng Wu, will he? If he does, I'll be incriminated. Her. Night Owl pointed at Feng Wu. Elder Dongfang stood in front of Feng Wu, as if she could hold off 10,000 enemies by herself. Feng Wu is from the Zhenwu Empire, and she's under the Empire's protection. You want to take her away without any evidence? Over my dead body. Night Owl couldn't speak or move, but he was trembling as he stared at Feng Wu. The deputy general manager beside him stood up and stared at Elder Dongfang. Then go to hell. After saying that, the deputy general manager pounced on Elder Dongfang like an eagle. It was so intimidating. Elder Dongfang's face instantly turned pale. She couldn't withstand it. This time, she was really going to die. Feng Wu turned around and shouted, Jun Linyuan, if you don't show up, your girl will be beaten to death. To be honest, she was just scaring her enemies. The deputy general manager really slowed down a little when he heard that. Night Owl, Mr. Sakiya and the others all looked behind Feng Wu. Elder Dongfang grabbed Feng Wu and threw her in the other direction. Run! Jun Linyuan was in seclusion, so she knew Feng Wu was trying to confuse their enemies. The girl should take this chance and run. Feng Wu was thrown backward. I'm here. Everybody heard a clear voice. Feng Wu, on the other hand, was wrapped in a pair of strong arms. Chapter 3341, 3341 Battle. 3341 Battle. Feng Wu met a pair of bright eyes. She recalled what she said earlier. Jun Linyuan, if you don't show up, your girl will be beaten to death. Feng Wu was astonished. She had only been using Jun Linyuan's name to intimidate her opponent just now. How was she supposed to know Jun Linyuan would respond to her call? Why was he here? Feng Wu was so embarrassed that she wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. But in this situation, she couldn't run away. How awkward. Feng Wu cleared her throat and pretended that she hadn't said anything. What are you doing here? Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu with brooding eyes. Realizing that she had wrapped her arms around Jun Linyuan's neck, Feng Wu struggled to get off. Meanwhile, all hell had broken loose. Feng and the deputy general manager were fighting. Elder Dongfang was no match for the deputy general manager. Right now, she was holding onto a tree and vomiting blood. Feng Wu hurried over and gave Elder Dongfang a hand. Elder Dongfang didn't like Feng Wu. When she saw how close Feng Wu was to Jun Linyuan, Elder Dongfang felt bad for Dongfang Ziyan, so she glared at Feng Wu when the latter came over. Feng Wu said arrogantly, Don't act like I'm trying to please you. If you hadn't bought me some time, I wouldn't have done this. After that, Feng Wu took out a semi-divine solution and injected Elder Dongfang with it. The effect of the medicinal liquid was much faster than that of medicinal pills. Elder Dongfang had already taken a semi-divine golden crow pill and the all-purpose transformation liquid. Now that Jun Linyuan was here, she seemed to have found her support. She was relieved of the burden and sat down cross-legged under the tree to cultivate. Feng Wu looked at Elder Dongfang helplessly. Jun Linyuan and the steward were the only two spiritual saints here, and the other side was obviously stronger. Why was Elder Dongfang so relaxed? Did she think everything would be fine with Jun Linyuan around? Right now, Jun Linyuan didn't do anything. With his sword on his back, he stared into the distance, and an intangible kingly aura emanated from him. Not many people could withstand that pressure. Feng Wu looked at Jun Linyuan, who stood out from the crowd, and then at Night Owl, who was covered in gauze. She didn't know what to say. She wanted to ask Night Owl if he regretted blowing up Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu had no idea Feng was so capable. He was actually a spiritual saint. Against the deputy general manager, he was calm and at ease. Thump! Feng threw a punch, and the deputy general manager fell to the ground. He tried to stop himself, but his feet kept sliding backward. He slid for dozens of meters before stopping. Feng Wu noticed that the deputy general manager looked like he was going to vomit blood, but he held it in. It was obvious that Feng was much more capable than the deputy general manager. Feng Wu praised him right away. Our crown prince is much more powerful than theirs, and Feng is much more powerful than theirs. Feng Wu was going to say, deputy general manager. But she then remembered if she hadn't been to Sun Castle before, she wouldn't have known that man's job. Hence, she changed her words. Feng smiled at Feng Wu. Night Owl's face was already red with anger. Of course he knew Feng Wu had said that on purpose. Chapter 3342. 3342 Brother June. 3342 Brother June. Night Owl's face was already red with anger. Of course, he knew Feng Wu had said that on purpose. Before he could say anything, Yu Ming bellowed. Feng Wu, how dare you? Feng Wu felt safe with Jun Linyuan around. She darted a look at Yu Ming, then turned around and tugged at Jun Linyuan's sleeve. Your Royal Highness, he's so mean to me, little Feng Wu complained. So what if she wasn't a spiritual saint? She had a spiritual saint behind her. Your Royal Highness? Jun Linyuan frowned. Feng Wu wondered how else she should address him. Bro. He would probably smack her. Brother June. Feng Wu played along because she wanted to annoy her enemies. Brother June, they're bullying me. Feng Wu was indeed a weakling in front of these big shots. But her greatest strength was her flexibility. She didn't mind asking for help or admitting her weakness. Now that her patron was here, she couldn't wait to complain about her mistreatment. The people of the Dongseng Kingdom were astonished. Bu Jingyu rubbed his eyes and thought, she's tugging at a man's sleeve in front of so many people. Isn't she ashamed? The others around him thought the same. Fine. She's young and probably can't help showing off her patron. But Jun Linyuan won't buy it, will he? He's not someone who falls for such tricks. Look at Jun Linyuan's big frown. That was what Night Owl and Mr. Sakia thought. All the other Dongsengers felt the same way. They were all waiting for Jun Linyuan to wave his hand and smack Feng Wu away. Not far away, Elder Dongfang, who was sitting under a tree, saw those people's expectant gazes. She looked disdainfully at them as she recovered from her injuries. They'll be disappointed. Jun Linyuan must be thrilled. If he didn't like Feng Wu, he would have sent her flying a long time ago, just as he had done to Dongfang Ziyun. Fearing that her cultivation would go awry, Elder Dongfang closed her eyes. Out of sight, out of mind. As expected, Jun Linyuan frowned, but he didn't push Feng Wu away. He only said calmly, and Feng Wu tugged at Jun Linyuan's sleeve. Brother Jun, they said I stole 100 fighter jets from the Dongseng Kingdom. 100. Jun Linyuan lowered his eyes. Impressive. Feng Wu said, that's right. Everyone in the Dongseng Kingdom is useless. With so many experts guarding the fighter jets, I, a level 6 spiritual king, can steal 100 of them. Everyone on Feng Wu's side laughed. The people from the Dongseng Kingdom looked embarrassed. Come out now. Feng Wu heard what Jun Linyuan said and looked up, wondering to whom Jun Linyuan was talking. She followed Jun Linyuan's gaze and found the person. It was Yu Ming. Staring into Jun Linyuan's dark eyes, Yu Ming felt a chill run down his spine. He was indeed very capable in front of ordinary people, but compared to Jun Linyuan, Yu Ming's heart trembled. He looked at his master for help. Mr. Sakia's expression was extremely ugly. Last time, Jun Linyuan had injured him here. When Mr. Sakia stared at Jun Linyuan, he suddenly realized the latter was different from before. Chapter 3343. 3343 Dragon Phoenix Blood. 3343 Dragon Phoenix Blood. Mr. Sakia frowned. Something seemed to have happened to Jun Linyuan. It was a change he didn't want to see. Yu Ming said, Master. He was flustered. Mr. Sakia turned to Jun Linyuan and said slowly, Your Royal Highness, why do you have to make things difficult for my disciple? Jun Linyuan didn't like to talk, and he usually started fighting right away. Hence it was Feng Wu who said, You can slander me, So why can't Brother Jun back me up? Right. Feng Wu gave Jun Linyuan a smug look. She thought, we're facing the same enemy now. You better not humiliate me. Jun Linyuan decided he would deal with Feng Wu when they returned to the fortress. Why did she have to run around when he was in seclusion? His attention landed on Mr. Sakia again. Without another word, Jun Linyuan said, Your turn. Mr. Sakia stiffened. He was stroking his beard, and almost pulled it off when he heard those words. Mr. Sakia couldn't beat a seriously injured Jun Linyuan, even when he was at his peak, let alone now. He didn't stand a chance. The deputy general manager couldn't beat Feng, so if they started a battle here, the Dongseng kingdom would definitely lose. Mr. Sakia subconsciously looked at Night Owl. The crown prince ripped off the gauze, revealing his face, and looked Jun Linyuan in the eye. Bring it on. Jun Linyuan looked at Night Owl in bewilderment. What happened to your face? The question made Night Owl angrier. Sensitive and irritable, he felt Jun Linyuan was mocking him. Were you injured as badly as this last time? You can't withstand mini explosions, can you? Why did you try to blow me up then? Jun Linyuan asked 3 questions in a row. Were you trying to kill yourself? Every time Jun Linyuan asked a question, Night Owl felt like he was being stabbed in the heart. It hurt. Why did you try to provoke me? Jun Linyuan was perplexed. Night Owl attacked Nest as soon as he became a spiritual saint. An injured Jun Linyuan showed up, and Night Owl chose to injure Jun Linyuan further, by blowing them up together. However, Jun Linyuan was unharmed now, while Night Owl was still in a miserable state. Why did you provoke me? Where did you find the courage? Jun Linyuan asked the questions in all seriousness, which made Night Owl's face burn. How did it feel to be slapped in public? It was how Night Owl felt now. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Was he too weak to be Jun Linyuan's opponent now? Boss Jun, why did you run so fast? Just then, Feng Sun and Xianyi arrived, and Feng Sun cried out when he saw Jun Linyuan. OMG! Boss Jun, your Dragon Phoenix blood. You've activated your Dragon Phoenix blood. Feng Sun seldom shouted in public, but he couldn't help it now. The Dragon Phoenix blood. All eyes were on Jun Linyuan. The crown prince stood there with his hands behind his back, his sleeves billowing in the wind. He looked indescribably handsome. Night Owl was dumbfounded. Mr. Sakia had a bitter taste in his mouth, and he couldn't even smile. The deputy general manager was shocked. His expression was ugly and extremely vigilant. Elder Dongfang forgot about her cultivation as her eyes opened wide. Everybody stared at Jun Linyuan. The Dragon Phoenix blood. Logo. Chapter 3344. 3344 Don't exaggerate. 3344 Don't exaggerate. Jun Linyuan was already so talented, and with the Dragon Phoenix blood. The Dongseng Kingdom's future. With this in mind, Mr. Sakia and the deputy general manager looked at each other as their pupils contracted. They looked at Night Owl in unison, and saw his hands shaking in his sleeves. Was he scared too? Mr. Sakia felt even more despair. No one made a sound. Clasping his hands behind his back, Jun Linyuan stood there proudly, looking straight ahead with his sharp eyes. He looked so cold and distant that no one dared to approach him. However, no one knew he kept stealing glances at someone from the corner of his eye. When Jun Linyuan saw how amazed Feng Wu was, he was even more pleased. Yes, he replied to Feng Sun in an indifferent tone. Feng Sun was so thrilled that he nearly cried. Boss Jun, you're a genius. That's the Dragon Phoenix blood. According to ancient scriptures, only one person in history has ever had it. Mr. Sakia felt even more bitter. Night Owl couldn't believe his ears. Jun Linyuan cleared his throat, as if he didn't care about it at all. However, if that really were the case, why would he glance at Feng Wu all the time? Feng Sun was perplexed. Feng Wu was really amazed. She didn't expect Jun Linyuan to actually activate the Dragon Phoenix blood. That was really. Her beautiful master gave her the Divine Phoenix blood, but Jun Linyuan had activated his bloodline himself. Feng Wu had to admit she wasn't as good as him in that aspect. She was about to praise Jun Linyuan when she saw the look on Night Owl's face. He looked as if he had been struck by lightning. Feng Wu immediately had an idea. Feng Wu tugged at Jun Linyuan's sleeve and said with sparkling eyes, "Oh my God, Jun. Brother Jun, you're so awesome. You're the best. You're the smartest, most handsome, elegant, and dignified man in the world. You're amazing. All other teenagers are useless in front of you, including that night owl." Feng Wu's eyes were filled with admiration, making Jun Linyuan believe he really was the most impressive, awesome person in the world. Holy crap! The Crown Prince was overjoyed when he heard Feng Wu's compliments. His expression became even more serious, but his earlobes still turned a little red. The Crown Prince darted a look at Feng Wu and frowned. "Don't exaggerate." Feng Wu could tell Jun Linyuan was enjoying it. His face was grim, but he was smiling a little. What a vain Crown Prince. Feng Wu was elated. She had found the Crown Prince's weakness. Seeing how happy Feng Wu was, Jun Linyuan sighed in resignation. Feng Wu wasn't done yet. "Dragon Phoenix blood. That's Dragon Phoenix blood. Night Owl, what kind of blood do you have? How does it compare with Jun Linyuan's Dragon Phoenix blood?" Feng Wu said that on purpose. She wanted to show off so much that Night Owl was scared. Night Owl had always regarded Jun Linyuan as his greatest enemy and only opponent. That was why he still hadn't recovered from the shock. However, Feng Wu provoked him on purpose. Feng Wu asked Jun Linyuan, "How did you activate the Dragon Phoenix blood? Didn't Night Owl try to blow you up? How did you recover? Did your bloodline activate automatically?" Chapter 3345. 3345 Did I let you go? 3345 Did I let you go? Even Feng Sun was worried for Feng Wu. "Little Feng Wu, don't you think you're exaggerating? It's obvious that you're putting on an act. Boss Jun isn't an idiot. He's a noble man, and won't fall for such a thing. He'll even get mad at you." Night Owl thought so too. Having been Jun Linyuan's enemy for so long, he was aware of Jun Linyuan's noble character. However, they guessed wrong again. Jun Linyuan said proudly, "I know. He actually said he knew." Night Owl spat out another mouthful of blood. Looking at Night Owl, who was vomiting blood nonstop, Mr. Sakia knew the Dongseng Kingdom had suffered heavy losses today. If they stayed any longer, the losses would be even greater. Mr. Sakia cupped his fists at Jun Linyuan. "Goodbye." With that, Mr. Sakia pushed Night Owl's wheelchair and was about to leave. The others were so intimidated by Jun Linyuan that they all wanted to run away. "Did I let you go?" Just those words carried the domineering aura of an emperor who looked down on the world. Mr. Sakia paused and turned to look at Jun Linyuan. "Your Royal Highness, don't forget the promise." The promise? Feng Wu didn't know what that meant, but she could see how everyone else's expressions changed. Feng Sun and Xianyi didn't understand what it meant either. However, Elder Dongfang's eyes were filled with anger and humiliation. Jun Linyuan felt the same way. He stared at Mr. Sakia with deep eyes that were as cold as knives. Mr. Sakia nodded at Jun Linyuan and turned to leave. Boom! Before Mr. Sakia could react, he realized that beside him, Yu Ming had exploded. Yu Ming was Mr. Sakia's second disciple. He was a spiritual overlord. However, Jun Linyuan flicked his finger, and Yu Ming exploded on the spot. When he exploded, flesh and blood splattered, staining the people around him, especially Night Owl. That seemed to be the purpose of the explosion. He was hit by a blood clot on his head, and his face was covered in blood. When had Night Owl ever suffered such humiliation? Jun Linyuan, screw you. Night Owl stood up angrily and was ready to fight. Jun Linyuan nodded. Let's fight. The promise mentioned earlier was a restriction on spiritual saints. The spiritual saints of the Zhenhua Empire weren't allowed to initiate a battle with the spiritual saints of the Dongseng Kingdom. This was the unequal treaty that Feng Xiangnan had signed with Xue Zhibei to protect the people of Nest when the fighter jets bombarded the fortress. Mr. Sakia held down the enraged Night Owl. His expression was serious, and his tone was cold. "Your Royal Highness, calm down." Night Owl also wanted to calm down, but how could he? "Jun Linyuan, you're going too far." Night Owl smashed the wheelchair to pieces. Although he relied on the powerful physique of a spiritual saint to wake up, without the immortal spiritual fruit to treat him, his cultivation recovery would be very slow. Jun Linyuan smiled a little. That was the coldest sneer that Feng Wu had ever seen on his face. "Night Owl, we're just getting started." Jun Linyuan smirked. He hadn't even started to wash away the humiliation that the Dongseng Kingdom had inflicted on the Zhenwu Empire. Night Owl also knew things weren't looking good for him. A man should know when to yield and when to stand tall. He should lay low now. But he was the ruthless crown prince after all. He couldn't stand it. "Jun Linyuan, what are you doing here? Don't you know the 3 spiritual saints of your fortress are about to die?" Chapter 3346, 3346 Invincible Jun Linyuan, 1. 3346 Invincible Jun Linyuan, 1. "Jun Linyuan, what are you doing here? Don't you know the 3 spiritual saints of your fortress are about to die?" As soon as Night Owl said that, everyone looked at him. Feng Wu frowned. "Night Owl, what do you mean?" Night Owl sneered and didn't say anything. Feng Wu almost blurted out, "You've been unconscious all this time. How do you know what the great general is doing?" However, she suddenly realized if she said that Mr. Sakiya and the others would know that she had gone to Sun Castle. She reminded herself to be careful with her words. At that moment Mr. Sakiya picked up the conversation. Staring at Jun Linyuan, he said in a serious tone, "That's right. They're in the final stage of the battle." Jun Linyuan's expression turned cold, and a vicious look appeared on his face. "Mr. Sakiya said, our great general, Shuezhibei, and 3 guardian elders are all spiritual saints. They're fighting your spiritual saints. The battle is probably coming to an end." "For spiritual saints." Elder Dongfang snapped at Jun Linyuan. "Elder Helian has reached the spiritual saint stage." Jun Linyuan realized Feng Xiangnan Mr. Lu Mr. Su, and Elder Helian were the 4 spiritual saints on their side. The first 3 were fine, but Elder Helian had just broken through. How could he deal with the Dongseng Kingdom's long-standing spiritual saints? He would definitely lose. If Elder Helian was defeated, the battle would become a 4 versus 3, and the spiritual saints on the Zhenwu Empire's side would immediately fall into danger. There weren't many spiritual saints in the empire. Therefore, every spiritual saint was extremely precious. Mr. Sakiya stared at Jun Linyuan. "Do you still have time to come after us?" Jun Linyuan closed his eyes. No one knew what he was doing. However, the spiritual essence which emanated from his body made everyone tremble. Even Feng Wu was affected. It was as if he was the ruler of the world. She looked up and saw Jun Linyuan's handsome face. He stood there proudly, looking indescribably noble and handsome. He was strong, handsome and unparalleled. Feng Wu was starting to believe that he could make all the girls in the world fall head over heels for him. Right at that moment, suddenly, Jun Linyuan reached out. It was as if the world was under his control. What was he doing? Everyone looked at him in surprise. Mr. Sakiya's pupils suddenly contracted as his facial muscles twitched violently. He had a very bad feeling. Jun Linyuan wasn't going to break the barrier all by himself, was he? Mr. Sakiya knew very well that there was a barrier in space. It was impossible for the 8 spiritual saints to fight on the ground, since the consequences of their battle would be too terrifying. Landslides and avalanches upended mountains and rivers. The impact on the human environment would be too intense, and innocent people could be injured at any time. Therefore, a spatial barrier would be set up for a battle of their level. Only spiritual saints with high cultivation levels could tear apart the barrier with their bare hands. As far as Mr. Sakiya knew, Shuezhibei was the only one who could do it in the Dongseng Kingdom. Jun Linyuan. Could he have advanced to that level? This was something Mr. Sakiya didn't want to see happen. Chapter 3347, 3347 Invincible Jun Linyuan 2. 3347 Invincible Jun Linyuan 2. This was also what Night Owl didn't want to see. If that was the case, the gap between Jun Linyuan and Night Owl couldn't be bridged in a short time. What made Mr. Sakia despair was that it really happened. Jun Linyuan reached out, and a black vortex spread out from his palm. This power was extremely terrifying. The space around them cracked like a spider web. Everyone's expressions changed. Could he break through the space by himself? The capability. The power. Mr. Sakia gasped. He had always been unperturbed by anything, but his face had turned pale. Night Owl was so angry that he gripped the armrests of the wheelchair so tightly that he almost broke them. The web-like space soon showed signs of collapse. Break! At Jun Linyuan's command, the space shattered like glass. A black hole appeared in front of him. No one could believe their eyes. To most people here, the subspace was a legendary thing. They had never seen it in their lives until now. Fierce astral winds swept out from the black subspace. Everyone felt they would freeze to death. It must be at least minus 100 degrees Celsius, Feng Wu thought to herself. The extreme cold wasn't the only thing that could hurt them. What flowed out of the dark subspace wasn't just cold air, but also steel-like wind blades. The wind blades shot out like arrows from a crossbow. Every arrow contained thick killing intent. These arrows were useless against spiritual saints, because their physical defenses were very strong. They simply landed on their bodies like snowflakes. However, these arrows were a nightmare to cultivators below the spiritual saint stage. Whoosh! Countless arrows rained down on Feng Wu, but Jun Linyuan was already in front of her. The wind blades couldn't hurt Feng Wu at all. On the Dongseng Kingdom's side, Mr. Sakia and the deputy general manager were in a fluster. This was because most of the arrows were aimed at them. Feng Wu wondered if Jun Linyuan had calculated the exact angle when he tore open the space with his bare hands. Back off! Gripping Sky Destroyer behind him, Jun Linyuan shouted at everyone. The people of the Junhua Empire respected him as if he were a god, so they all stepped back without hesitation. Feng Wu backed away as well. They had just retreated a few hundred steps when something happened. A golden light flashed across the sky. A person rushed out first. You want to run? Die! Feng Wu saw an incomparably powerful man raise his axe as he gave an angry roar. Feng Wu was surprised. He was clearly from the Dongseng Kingdom, and the person he was threatening was Elder Hellion. Therefore, that person was the Dongseng Kingdom's guardian elder that Mr. Sakia had mentioned. Instantly, Feng Wu understood Jun Linyuan's plan. When Mr. Sakia said that the masters of both sides were fighting, Jun Linyuan immediately guessed that they were fighting in the dark subspace. When Mr. Sakia said that Dongseng Kingdom had the upper hand, Jun Linyuan immediately thought of a way to help his people get out of that space. He didn't know where they were, but once he broke through the space, the people inside would immediately know. Because it was dark inside, but it was bright outside. Chapter 3348, 3348 Invincible Jun Linyuan 3. 3348 Invincible Jun Linyuan 3. A ray of light appeared in the darkness. Unless one was blind, it was impossible for them not to notice. That was why Jun Linyuan had torn open the dark subspace. He wanted the light to shine inside, and let the people know there was a way out, so that they could escape. It was brilliant. Feng Wu looked at the Crown Prince in admiration. How was he so smart? The most amazing thing was that this wasn't a plan that had been thought up over a long period of time. He came up with that idea in an instant. Jun Linyuan made his move. Elder Jiang Yin. Mr. Sakia's eyes lit up when he saw that man. Elder Jiang Yin was a spiritual saint who had been famous for a long time. His strength was extraordinary. He was more than enough to deal with Elder Hellion, who had just advanced to the spiritual saint stage. However, if Jun Linyuan took action, Mr. Sakia wanted to see how strong Jun Linyuan was with the Dragon Phoenix blood. He remembered it had only been a couple of years since Jun Linyuan became a spiritual saint, he should be at the initial stage. Boom! Jun Linyuan flew into the air. He didn't even pull out Sky Destroyer from his back. Instead, he blocked the strike with his fist. How powerful! Terrifying spiritual essence filled the air. Elder Jiang Yin came down from the sky, while Jun Linyuan went up from the ground. Elder Jiang Yin had the upper hand. When Elder Jiang Yin saw Jun Linyuan, he frowned. "You brat! I'll destroy you!" A streak of sword energy tore through the sky. The sword energy had been aimed at Elder Helion, but now it was aimed at Jun Linyuan. However, never in his wildest dreams could Elder Jiang Yin have imagined that Jun Linyuan would be right in front of him. Before Elder Jiang Yin could react, Jun Linyuan punched the sword with his left fist. Thump! The sword fell from the sky to the ground. Elder Jiang Yin cursed Jun Linyuan. "You!" However, before Elder Jiang Yin could finish, Jun Linyuan clenched his right fist and punched Elder Jiang Yin in the face. One shouldn't hit people in the face, especially when the one getting hit was a spiritual saint. However, Jun Linyuan didn't hold back at all. Boom! Elder Jiang Yin felt the impact and wanted to dodge, but he was shocked to discover that he was far slower than his opponent. He couldn't dodge it. Elder Jiang Yin's face was punched, and his spiritual saint defense barrier cracked like a spider web. In the end, Jun Linyuan's fist landed on the elder's face. A large part of Elder Jiang Yin's face caved in. He could no longer hold back and was sent flying. To everyone else, all of this happened in a second. Therefore, they saw Jun Linyuan disarm Elder Jiang Yin's weapon with one punch and send him flying with a second punch. Elder Jiang Yin. Emo Lan immediately rushed forward to examine him. However, it was only a punch after all. Elder Jiang Yin's injuries weren't too serious. Pushing Emo Lan away, he charged at Jun Linyuan like a cheetah. "Brat, you're dead!" Elder Jiang Yin was unafraid of death. Elder Jiang Yin's punch contained all the strength he had accumulated over the years. Jun Linyuan didn't move. As Elder Jiang Yin rushed toward him in wrath, Jun Linyuan placed his right hand behind his back and clenched his left hand into a fist. Go! Their fists met. Their power clashed. At the impact, light condensed. Strong winds howled. An explosion broke through the clouds. Only then did Elder Jiang Yin realize how terrifying Jun Linyuan was. Chapter 3349. 3349 Invincible Jun Linyuan 4. 3349 Invincible Jun Linyuan 4. Only then did Elder Jiang Yin realize how terrifying Jun Linyuan was. He finally realized how much of a gap there was between him and Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan stood there with one hand behind his back, and only threw one punch. After that punch he still stood in place, his legs not moving at all. As for Elder Jiang Yin, he was sent flying by Jun Linyuan's fist again. This time, Jun Linyuan didn't hold back. He used even more force than before, so Elder Jiang Yin flew far, far away. No one knew how far he flew. Everyone watched helplessly as Elder Jiang Yin turned into a smaller and smaller black dot in the air and finally disappeared. Everyone was speechless. Mr. Sakiya had a bitter taste in his mouth as he was rendered speechless. Night Owl was really shocked. Today had been one astonishment after another for him. He panicked. Feng Wu observed Jun Linyuan after stuffing some medicine in Elder Hulian's mouth. How was he so awesome? She couldn't imagine anyone else like that. Feng Wu's eyes sparkled. After Jiang Yin was sent flying, Feng Wu rushed to Jun Linyuan's side and grabbed his sleeve. She looked up with twinkling eyes. "Brother Jun, you're awesome. I'm so proud of you." She was quite genuine this time, although she was still exaggerating a little. The exaggeration was to annoy Night Owl. She thought, I hope Night Owl loses his mind. Jun Linyuan appreciated what Feng Wu said, but he was a shy teenager, so he always kept a straight face. Go back to the fortress. Jun Linyuan pushed Feng Wu behind him. Stay as far away as you can. Go. Jun Linyuan's eyes were still fixed on the black hole. He looked like a hunter catching fish in winter, waiting for the fish to swim out of the hole in the ice. No problem. Feng Wu didn't wait for him to say anything else. She kept running. As a mere level 6 spiritual king, she didn't dare participate in such a battle. Otherwise, she would lose her life if a shockwave hit her. Indeed, in the next second, boom, people began to rush out of the black hole. The first to rush out was Mr. Su and the left guardian elder. The second to rush out was Mr. Lu and the right guardian elder. The last to rush out was the general of the Zhenhua Empire, Feng Xiangnan, and the great general of the Dongxing Empire, Shuizhibei. Feng Wu's chest tightened, and she grew nervous. Elder Helion had obviously lost the battle against Elder Jiangyin. Elder Helion was covered in injuries and dripping with blood. A few of his injuries were especially serious, and they wouldn't stop bleeding. And his right arm. Only then did Feng Wu notice that his right arm was severed at the elbow. Elder Helion, where's your arm? Where's your right arm? Feng Wu asked anxiously. If she could find the arm, she would be able to sew it back on. However, Elder Helion smiled bitterly. Where's the arm? It's gone. I'm lucky to be alive. Elder Helion looked worried. He said to Feng Wu in a hurry, Go back. Go back now. Feng Wu said, Don't worry. Jun Linyuan is here. However, Chapter 3350, 3350 Jun Linyuan's Strength 1. 3350 Jun Linyuan's Strength 1. The first to rush out was Mr. Su and the left guardian elder. The second to rush out was Mr. Lu and the right guardian elder. The last to rush out was the general of the Zhenhua Empire, Feng Xiangnan, and the great general of the Dongxing Empire, Shuizhibei. After the three pairs came out, they immediately started fighting without any hesitation. Jun Linyuan sealed the space with a wave of his hand. Feng Wu, Feng Sun, and the others were outside a barrier, but Mr. Sakia and Night Owl were inside. One had to wonder if Jun Linyuan had done it on purpose. It was a transparent barrier. Although Feng Wu and the others were outside, they could still see what was going on inside. It was obvious Mr. Su was weaker than the left guardian elder. Mr. Su was in a defensive state while his opponent attacked. Mr. Su could still hold on, so Jun Linyuan only glanced at him. Mr. Lu was seriously injured and was vomiting blood from time to time. Jun Linyuan knew very well that Mr. Lu wouldn't last long. Therefore, he instantly went forward. As soon as Jun Linyuan stepped forward to help Mr. Lu, Mr. Sakia followed suit. The 4 spiritual saints of the Dongxing Kingdom and the 4 spiritual saints of the Zhenhua Empire were evenly matched. Was that really the case? General Feng, who was struggling, didn't think so. He had a bad feeling. He felt the Zhenhua Empire was going to be destroyed this time. Shuizhibei had the same opinion. Feng Xiangnan, do it yourself. General Feng sneered. Do you think you can win? Shuizhibei's expression was cold and solemn. He said matter-of-factly, You're already in a situation where you're bound to lose. Save your last bit of dignity. General Feng almost fainted from anger. Don't even think about it. He was already covered in injuries. This was especially true for his abdomen. A long blade had slashed across it, leaving a huge open wound. It was a shocking sight. This time, Shuizhibei didn't hold back. He grabbed at General Feng's abdomen with his bare hand. Once Feng Xiangnan was injured in the same spot again, the consequences would be unimaginable. After being injured time and time again, General Feng was already at the end of his rope. Shuizhibei hoped to end the battle quickly, so this time, he attacked with all his might. Shuizhibei stared at General Feng's wound with a cold glint in his eyes. After so many years, his opponent was finally going to fall this time. There was hesitation, reluctance, and regret in his eyes, but mostly he was relieved. But just as his hand was about to touch General Feng's wound, a sword struck out from the side. Holding Sky Destroyer in his hand, Jun Linyuan wrapped his energy around General Feng. Feng Wu's heart raced. Shuizhibei was a very powerful cultivator. Was Jun Linyuan a match for him now? Feng Wu wasn't the only one who wanted to know. Night Owl was also wondering about the same thing. Night Owl stared at Jun Linyuan with bloodthirsty eyes. He grabbed the armrests of his wheelchair. If that wheelchair weren't made of a special material, it would have been torn apart. No, Jun Linyuan definitely isn't strong enough to fight Shueji. Night Owl shouted and prayed in his head. Everyone stared at Jun Linyuan's sword. Spiritual essence howled in the center as Sky Destroyer spun. Feng Xiangnan was forced to take a few steps back, while Shueji was also forced to take a few steps back. Chapter 3351, 3351 Jun Linyuan's Strength 2. 3351 Jun Linyuan's Strength 2. Jun Linyuan had single-handedly separated the most powerful cultivators of Nest and Sun Castle. He was so powerful. Shueji stared at Jun Linyuan in surprise. Jun Linyuan, you. Feng Xiangnan also stared at Jun Linyuan. You Royal Highness. Jun Linyuan nodded at Feng Xiangnan. Thank you for your hard work, General Feng. I'll take it from here. How would General Feng dare to believe that? Their opponent was Shueji. General Feng said, Your Royal Highness, get out of here. It's too dangerous. Jun Linyuan didn't say another word to General Feng. Instead, he stared at Shueji. Bring it on. A cold glint flashed in Shueji's eyes. Given how smart he was, he immediately noticed the change in Jun Linyuan. The last time he met Jun Linyuan, the latter didn't exude such a powerful aura. This time, although Jun Linyuan wasn't as powerful as Shueji, he still exuded an air of authority that intimidated even the latter. Jun Linyuan activated his Dragon Phoenix blood, Mr. Sakiya told Shueji. Shueji stared at Jun Linyuan with a cold glint in his eyes. Dragon Phoenix blood? Shueji took a deep breath. You have Dragon Phoenix blood inside you? Looks like I underestimated you. Shueji quickly calmed down. Dragon Phoenix blood is indeed rare, but it's just been activated. Shouldn't you protect it? When General Feng saw how calm Shueji was, a tinge of anxiety appeared in his eyes. They shouldn't have revealed that fact. From what he knew of Shueji, the calmer he was, the more it meant he was going to kill his opponent. Jun Linyuan had just activated the Dragon Phoenix blood, so now was the best time to take him out. Otherwise, he would be very difficult to deal with once he grew stronger. Get out! General Feng stood in front of Jun Linyuan, shielding him and yelling at him. Blood was still flowing from the wound on his abdomen, and his entire lower body was dyed red with blood. Shueji's eyes shone with mocking and coldness. All of you can come at me together. Jun Linyuan said to General Feng. General Feng, go help Mr. Lu. General Feng turned his head and saw that Mr. Lu was being attacked by the right guardian elder and Mr. Sakiya. His life was in danger. General Feng's cultivation level had been reduced by more than half because of his serious injuries. He indeed wasn't Shueji's match. Seeing that Mr. Lu couldn't hold on any longer, he had no choice but to go over and help. Night Owl was frustrated at being too seriously injured and not being able to use his strength. Otherwise, he would have already joined this chaotic battle. Feng didn't move. He didn't look nervous at all, either because of his confidence in himself or because of his trust in Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan and Shueji confronted each other. Their eyes were as deep as an abyss, and their faces were filled with killing intent. The space around them twisted and rippled. Violent streaks of energy surrounded them. The impact was unprecedentedly terrifying. It was as if the entire world would be destroyed if they weren't careful. The people who had been fighting around them stopped at this moment. They split into two sides and returned to their respective camps. Behind Jun Linyuan were General Feng, Mr. Lu and Mr. Su. All of them were injured and looked grim. Behind Shueji were the guardian elders and Mr. Sakiya. They looked much better than the spiritual saints of the Junhua Empire. Chapter 3352, 3352 Chu Tianxia 1. 3352 Chu Tianxia 1. Feng Wu's heart was in her throat. Jun Linyuan definitely wasn't as powerful as Shueji. Now that Shueji had seen the Dragon Phoenix blood in him, how could he not feel intimidated? How could he not take the opportunity to kill Jun Linyuan? Would Jun Linyuan lose? Clenching her fists, Feng Wu stared at Jun Linyuan, afraid of missing something. However, the two of them stared at each other and didn't attack for a long time. Actually, they've already made their move, Elder Hellion told Feng Wu. Feng Wu was surprised. What? Elder Hellion nodded and said very seriously. At their level, a competition of mental strength is the most terrifying. Others think that they aren't fighting, but in fact, they're already in a life-and-death battle. Feng Wu looked at the others. As expected, the other spiritual saints had all stopped. Everyone held their breaths and stared at Jun Linyuan and Shuejibei seriously. They were all nervous, worried and surprised. They were as nervous as Elder Hellion. Since when did the Crown Prince become so powerful? At first, Elder Hellion thought Jun Linyuan would lose, but when he saw Jun Linyuan still hadn't backed down, he looked at Feng Wu in surprise. Feng Wu said, he activated the Dragon Phoenix blood. Shuejibei had already said this just now, and Elder Hellion also knew about it, but he has just activated the Dragon Phoenix blood and already has the strength to fight Shuejibei. Doesn't that mean in the future? The more Elder Hellion thought about it, the more excited he became. If he could think that naturally, so could the people of the Dongsang Kingdom. Hence, they couldn't wait for General Shui to kill Jun Linyuan on the spot. Night Owl, in particular, was extremely wary of Jun Linyuan. He wanted Jun Linyuan dead. The battle between Jun Linyuan and Shuejibei suddenly became more ferocious. The two of them stood still, but the veins on their faces protruded. Others could even see the blood flow through their veins. But Feng Wu couldn't understand it at all. She wasn't strong enough right now to understand the life-and-death battle between spiritual saints. Oh no, they've already entered the final life-and-death battle. Elder Hellion covered his right arm and stood up from the ground with difficulty. His eyes were fixed on the scene in front of him, and the look on his face was even more anxious. Feng Wu was also worried. She couldn't wait for someone to stop this battle. Right at that moment, suddenly, it began to snow. Heavy snow fell from the sky. It wasn't the right season. What was going on? At that moment, a reverent look appeared on Elder Hellion's face. His back seemed to bend, and he almost knelt down. Feng Wu turned around and saw that everyone below the spiritual saint stage was on their knees. As for the spiritual saints like Elder Hellion, they were all bowing. Get on your knees. Elder Hellion growled at Feng Wu. But why? Feng Wu was confused. Why should she kneel? Feng Wu took a closer look at Elder Hellion and saw that his face was pale and covered in sweat, as if a terrifying god was about to descend to the world. Kneel. Seeing that Feng Wu wouldn't kneel, Elder Hellion was almost scared out of his wits. That person was coming. How could she not kneel? She would die. Feng Wu gave Elder Hellion a confused look and looked around, only to see that Elder Dongfang and the others had already knelt down. As for the Dongsang Kingdom, Bu Jingyu and the others had already knelt down properly, not daring to show any disrespect. Chapter 3353, 3353 Chu Tianxiao 2. 3353 Chu Tianxiao 2. She also saw Bu Jingyu trembling. He was that scared. Feng Wu was bewildered because she didn't feel any threat. She didn't sense any terrifying pressure either. Was she immune to it? Just then the sky seemed to split open. A booming voice resonated in the air, as if it came from the beginning of time. Stop! The simple word was like a thunderclap. Feng Wu noticed Elder Hellion's spiritual essence run wild, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He wasn't alone. Elder Dongfang and Mr. Sakia's disciples all vomited blood. The spiritual saints were all as pale as a sheet. Jun Linyuan and Shuejibei were forced to stop their battle. Feng Wu could tell that the barrier Jun Linyuan had set up had already shattered. When the others vomited blood, Feng Wu ran to Jun Linyuan's side and asked, Jun Linyuan, are you all right? Talk to me. Jun Linyuan was still in a daze, so he couldn't answer Feng Wu yet. Instead, Shuejibei, who had quickly regained his senses, looked at the young couple in shock. He was shocked that Jun Linyuan was capable of fighting him. He was also shocked that Prime Minister Chu had stopped the battle. He was even more shocked that when he was still dizzy from Prime Minister Chu's voice, this girl was still so lively. Shuizhibei stared at Feng Wu. Who are you? Why weren't you restrained by that peerless master? He wasn't the only one who was surprised. Everyone slowly came back to their senses. They all saw that Feng Wu was as lively as ever. Compared to their dizziness, Feng Wu was simply too healthy. Her skin was fair and rosy, and she looked radiant. She didn't kneel just now, someone exclaimed. Everyone looked at Feng Wu. Even with Shuizhibei's strength, he had no choice but to lower his head. This girl was completely unaffected? What kind of secret was she hiding? Feng Wu didn't even look at Shuizhibei. Instead, she looked at Jun Linyuan worriedly. How are you? Are you all right? Feng Wu knew one could turn into an idiot if one wasn't careful in a mental battle. Jun Linyuan had come back to his senses, and he nodded at Feng Wu. In the end, Jun Linyuan stared at Shuizhibei and said coldly, I'm not as good as you for now. These words made Shuizhibei flush. Jun Linyuan wasn't as good as he was right now, but Jun Linyuan was only a teenager. Shuizhibei knew very well that he was a whole generation older than Jun Linyuan. Shuizhibei glanced at his own crown prince, then back at Jun Linyuan. He had to admit, you're the best of your generation. Night Owl's expression instantly turned ugly, as if his face had been slapped swollen. Jun Linyuan nodded. I'll surpass you before long. Next to him, Feng Wu almost felt sorry for Shuizhibei. As expected, Shuizhibei's expression was a little ugly. Shuizhibei, I wanted to kill you today, Jun Linyuan said. Even without Chu Tianxiao, you wouldn't have been able to kill me. Shuizhibei was speechless. Why was this brat so mean? Ha 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 ha. A loud voice came from behind Jun Linyuan. Shuizhibei didn't need to turn around to know that it was his archenemy. Chapter 3354. 3354 Make him happy 1. 3354 Make him happy 1. As expected, it was General Feng. General Feng walked up to Shuizhibei and smiled happily. Shuizhibei, how's our crown prince? He's as good as your crown prince, isn't he? As good as? That was an understatement. Shuizhibei was obviously displeased. He cupped his fists at Feng Xiangnan. We'll soon carry out the bombardment for the final battle. General Feng, we will meet again. With that, he turned around and left with the rest of the people from the Dongseng kingdom. General Feng's expression instantly turned extremely ugly. Father, Feng Wu caught General Feng in a hurry. General Feng held his stomach. Let's go back now. Frowning, Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu's hand on General Feng's arm. Did she call him father? Still, Jun Linyuan didn't like what he saw. Therefore, he stood rooted to the ground. Seeing that Jun Linyuan wasn't injured, Feng Wu focused on the injured people, especially General Feng and Elder Helian, the two seniors whom she respected. Feng Wu noticed Jun Linyuan wasn't following her, so she turned around and saw he was still standing there stiffly. Feng Wu asked Elder Dongfang to assist the general while she hurried back. Jun Linyuan? Feng Wu looked at him in confusion. The crown prince threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and looked away. Feng Wu was even more confused. What's wrong? The crown prince sheathed his sword, put his hands behind his back, and turned away again. Feng Wu was utterly confused. She looked at Feng in confusion. Holding his fist to his lips, Feng cleared his throat in a hint to Feng Wu, then turned around and left. Feng Wu was puzzled. What was going on? She was sure Jun Linyuan was angry, but she didn't know the reason. Was it because she hadn't called him Brother Jun? That had been a special situation. Why should she call him that all the time? She wasn't his fan. Of course, Feng Wu wouldn't tell Jun Linyuan that. She poked Jun Linyuan with a finger. Jun Linyuan stood ramrod straight, and his muscles were very hard. Feng Wu's finger hurt, but he still stood there. Feng Wu thought of the battle today. Thankfully, Jun Linyuan was there, or all the spiritual saints would have been killed. Hence, Feng Wu went up to him and said in a soft voice, Your Royal Highness, are you mad? The Crown Prince said, Yes. What? He actually said yes. When did he become so thick-skinned? In the past, when he was angry, he would keep a straight face and ignore people. However, it was much easier to coax him now. Feng Wu walked up to him and was only 3 inches away from him. Then why are you angry? The girl's face was beautiful, and her eyes were lively and bright, reminding him of a deer in the forest. Her watery eyes were just inches away. He could feel her breath on his skin. Jun Lingyuan's move improved a little. Tell me, why are you angry? Feng Wu asked in bewilderment, jabbing a finger into his chest. The crown prince said in a muffled voice, I'm not. Feng Wu burst out laughing. Her voice was soft, and her smile was like a flower. One moment you're angry, and the next moment you're not. Are you angry or not? The talented teenager kept his handsome face straight. Feng Wu's smile widened. Taking Jun Lingyuan's hand, she said, There. Don't be mad. Let's go back together, okay? Chapter 3355. 3355 Make him happy too. 3355 Make him happy too. Jun Lingyuan didn't say yes, but he didn't reject it when Feng Wu held his hand. He also let her lead him away. A few steps away, Feng couldn't believe what he was seeing. Who would have thought the amazing crown prince would behave this way around the girl he liked? Feng didn't dare make a sound or glance at them too often, for fear that he would draw their attention. In the beginning, the young couple hadn't known what to do at all. Although they were still making slow progress now, they were at least moving forward. Feng felt so relieved and wanted to celebrate the occasion. Feng Wu was in a hurry to return to the fortress to treat General Feng and Elder Helian, so she walked very fast. Jun Lingyuan seemed to think she was walking too fast and wasn't very happy about it. However, he was too proud to say anything, so he could only let Feng Wu drag him along. Feng Wu arrived at the general's residence to find everybody there. Moreover, their expressions were very solemn, and the surrounding air felt heavy. Before anyone realized it, Feng Wu let go of Jun Lingyuan's hand. Seeing that Feng Wu had dropped his hand, the crown prince was immediately displeased. Feng Wu didn't notice. She hurried toward the general. Father, you're seriously injured. Lie down, and I'll treat you. She had already briefly treated General Feng, but she hadn't been able to do it thoroughly, so she was worried about him. Feng Wu had treated Mr. Liu before, and everybody knew her excellent medical skills. Therefore, no one objected when she treated the general. Everybody was there. There was General Feng, Mr. Su, Mr. Liu, Elder Dongfang and Elder Helian. General Feng's face was pale and solemn. Lying on the couch, he let Feng Wu treat him. His gaze landed on Jun Lingyuan. The Dongseng Kingdom is going to bombard us. Your Royal Highness, what do you think? Jun Lingyuan would only behave like a spoiled child in front of Feng Wu. He wouldn't get emotional over major issues. He started thinking and didn't give any advice right away. Meanwhile, the others were discussing it. Mr. Su said, Dongseng's technology is much more advanced than the Junwu Empire's. They have at least 100 fighter jets, but the Junwu Empire's fighter jets. Mr. Liu said bluntly, ours hasn't been developed yet. Mr. Su looked depressed, but he had no choice but to nod. Indeed, ours are still in the research stage. However, Master Duanmu said he would definitely be able to complete it in a year. Mr. Liu said, that's great. General Feng was also delighted. However, he soon shook his head. It's too late. That was right. Everybody had heard what Shuizhibei said. In a few days, the Dongseng Kingdom would launch a large-scale bombing, which would naturally be carried out by fighter jets. With the sky controlled by the Dongseng Kingdom, the Junwu Empire didn't stand a chance at all. Spiritual saints could rise into the sky, but the other side had spiritual saints as well. Therefore, the spiritual saints alone couldn't protect Nest Fortress. Should we evacuate everyone first? Mr. Su suggested. General Feng fell into a dilemma. If they evacuated Nest, they would lose this place. Where could they retreat to? Mr. Liu said, where can we retreat to? Northern border city? If we go there, won't they bomb the city? that you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.